This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
It is the most spectacular start to our day. The sun is just rising. It is beautiful and clear and crisp after yesterday's rain, and the perfect conditions to be out this morning. It really is absolutely beautiful with the golden light, and so we're going to travel down the road heading into the sunrise, and hopefully there will be a pot of gold somewhere in that direction on this, your very own live African safari. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Wild Earth Safaris and our Sunrise Safaris. My name is Tristan. On camera, I have got Johan this morning, and it is a very, very warm welcome to all of you, wherever you may be watching from. Hopefully, wherever you are, the weather is just as delightful as it is here this morning. Now, it is going to get very, very warm today. I suspect that we're going to feel the heat just now, but for now, it's the most beautiful temperature, and I'm sure a lot of animals will be out and moving around, given that we had rain yesterday. A lot of our territorial animals often will mark after rain like that, and so we're going to scratch around. We're going to head kind of slowly eastwards, and the plan is to try and see if we can find any sign of Thandi and the Cub or the Talamati Pride, because there was a very badly injured hippo. Remember that we are coming to you live from all over South Africa, and that means that we'd love to hear from you. So you can use the hashtag WildEarth if you would like to ask any questions, or if you have any comments, you can just use that. And also remember that you can become a part of the Wild Earth Explorers program, which will allow you to participate in all kinds of interesting and unique things. And if you want more information on that, remember you can go to wildearth.tv/explorers. Right. That's all out the way. Let's bumble eastwards into the sunrise, as I said earlier. Part of me sitting here is not only because it's the most beautiful view. I always just absolutely love the northern boundary of Djuma with Buffelshoek. It's this rolling straight road that just runs, but the sun kind of comes up and you get this beautiful kind of golden misty feel in the mornings. It's one of my favorite roads to drive early morning, just because of how pretty it is from a scenery point of view. If you time it right in the year, you can actually get the sun rising directly over the road, which is always pretty cool as well. So we're going to try and travel that way. Like I say, there was a very badly injured hippo just inside Buffelshoek, and the Talamatis were heading in that direction. It looked like this poor hippo had been in a really serious fight and was battling to even walk and use its back legs. And if the Talamatis come across it, who knows what can happen. Either the hippo maybe dies of its injuries, or they actually try and have a go at it. Also, you could have hyenas there, so we're going to just go and check around that area. Like I say, maybe, just maybe, there'll be some sort of interaction. There's also tracks for a lion right here. I haven't heard anyone call in tracks for a lion. This looks like potentially one of the evokers, a big male lion that walked along here. Okay, well, we'll have a look around on these tracks. The nice thing with lion tracks is you can follow them pretty quickly on a road like this. He's just walking straight along. I'm trying to find a nice example of it to show you guys, because they're not all that clear. So if you have a look here, I'm going to try and show you guys quickly. I just need to unplug myself, otherwise I'm going to break an earpiece, and we don't want to do that. And if you have a look over here, they're not that easy to see after the rain, because the road is a bit kind of, what's the word for it? Wendy, behave yourself. Wendy's moving while I'm out the car. But because of the road is a bit sort of, what's the word? Rough from the rain. There's lots of pitting from the rain. It's not that easy to make it out. But here you have the back of the pad over here, and then you've got the toes coming forward. And this size, if I put my hand there, is bigger than any hyena would ever be. So definitely male lion, and walking kind of straight down. So we're going to try and see if we can follow it. You never know, maybe this is going to lead up to where the Talamatis are, and maybe like I say, it's in the right direction for that hippo, that's for sure. The hippo would be kind of northeast of where I am right now. So we'll just have to see whether or not this goes into Buffelshoek or where it heads. But while I do that, it sounds like Deirdre is out and about this morning, and she's found herself at a waterhole already.
Good morning and welcome to Tswalu Kalahari. So you're with me, Deirdre, and today we have Davy on camera.
Hello.
So you'll see Owen left us and he'll pop up in the next couple of days at Pinda. But a little bit of a chilly morning again. It's about between sort of 14, 18 degrees. And we just popped in here at Tswalu Dam to follow up on our Blacksmith Lapwing nest. The good news is that there are still 4 eggs there, which is great, which means the parents are doing a very good job of protecting it. And the not so great news right at the moment is that the adult has actually left the nest. So they timeshare on the nest between the male and the female, generally about 20 minutes, 80 minutes a slot on the nest, and it's initiated by either one of the adults getting up and moving off the nest, or one of the other adults, or male or female, should I say, approaching the nest, and then the other one will move off, and they'll take that turn to incubate. So it's about 30 days, so we've still got a few more days to wait before hopefully we see these little fluffy chicks, like 2 little woolly balls, pom-poms on top of each other, running on ridiculously long legs. You can see one of the adults that's just busy feeding on the edge of the water here. So they do take a lot of aquatic insects. Their common place that they do like to be is always at the water, but sometimes you do see them in sort of open grassy patches, but relatively close to some form of a water body. Oh, got one. You've seen a kill this morning. Live kill. Only one little insect, but it's still something. So don't forget to follow us, #WildEarth, and then also questions at FC. While we move on from here, we're going to send you across to Dierveld. That's got something nice to show you.
A very good morning to Anbjorn Pinda Private Game Reserve. We've got some white rhinos and the pride of lions that we were with yesterday as well. And you can see the sub-adult male there in the back, and there's 4 white rhino in between us and the lions. What an incredible scene to come and find here. My name is Deirdre, and behind the camera we've got Glenn, and we actually came here to look for these lions, and surprise, surprise, we found them with a whole crash of rhinos. Look, these rhinos actually sparring a little bit. I think it's quite a few young individuals, young bulls and young females that have come and joined each other. And you can see the young male lions are now trying to just get away from these rhinos. Oh my goodness, what a start to the morning. And look at these rhinos, how beautiful they are with the coloration on them of the red soil that's in this area. Wow. Listen to that. Those 2 that are sparring there is pushing the one in the back almost down the hill. Look at now, there's all 3 of them pushing each other with their heads down. I think this is a young female that's here in front of us, and by the looks of things, it might be the 3 young males there in the back trying to test their strength. Let's see if she joins in. Oh, look at the one's foot being picked up by the others. Oh my goodness, look at that. What interesting behavior. Regin, you're saying the rhinos don't look too concerned about the lions? No, not at all. In any case, rhinos are not bothered by predators at all. They don't have natural predators. It's only really young rhinos that need to be careful, and even they have the protection of their mothers. You can see the one that's standing closest to us now is a young bull, and you can see the size difference between him and the female there next to him. So like I said, it might be young animals, that's why they're all together. But even just the size between his head and her head is incredible. See that big muscle behind his neck as well? Yeah, look at them pushing each other around. I think these young rhinos are very playful this morning. So they've probably left their mothers in the last 2 years or so, and they are just hanging around with each other for some companionship, because the bulls will generally, when they get big enough and strong enough and they become dominant and they have their own territories, they'll patrol and quite often be by themselves and really only meet up with other rhinos to fight and also to mate. So seeing these three young bulls together like this. Oh, there's a young sub-adult male lion that's now coming up towards us, walking straight to our vehicle. Coming up the side a bit away from the rhinos. It's coming right behind our vehicle. Okay, he's still right behind us now. Josh, you're asking why they are called white rhinos. So, as you can see, it's not because of the color that they are, because white and black rhino are very similar in color, that gray color. But if you look, let's see if we can get a view of their mouths. There, you'll just see they've got a wide lip, so a wide, squarish, flat lip, and it's believed that the name white came from the first Dutch people and Afrikaans people that called them weitlip rhinoster or rhinos, and that was loosely translated to white in English, and that's why they become white and black rhinos. But who knows if that is really the reason. But yeah, so now we've got white and black rhino. And interesting that we are talking about this. So that flat lip there, look at that. You'll see them, their mouths are that flat, square shape, ideal for eating grass. Just pulling the grass off with those flat lips that they've got. Look at these two standing head to head. It's so funny that they are pushing each other around on these little slopes where footing is not the best thing ever. I don't know if you could hear that snorting sound there, and look at that red dust that they're kicking up as they are pushing each other around. It actually seems Glenn can just see behind us, and it seems like the sub-adult lions are lying down right behind our vehicle, so we're not going anywhere at the moment. But have a look at their horns. So with these young rhinos, their horns are super shiny on top, and it makes me think that they are sparring quite a lot. They're at this age where they're pushing each other around a lot. The horns are worn down quite a bit, especially that one that you can see the head sticking out into the sunlight there. Very, very shiny. So even when the horns are dehorned, they're not that shiny. Yeah, they're really pushing each other. Look at that. I wonder if it's getting a little bit more aggressive now. It seems like it's just that one there in the back that wants to spar with everyone. Look how they're sizing each other up. Almost fencing with their horns. JP, you're asking if the rhino horns will grow back. Yes, they do grow back. It's the same substance as our nails, so keratin or just compressed hair, and that is why there is absolutely no medicinal value or anything to a rhino horn, so there's no point to really poach rhinos for their horns. So their horns grow back, and it grows back fairly quickly, so hopefully one day when everyone realizes that rhino horns have no medicinal value or so, we can leave the rhinos' horns to grow back, and we'll see them in their majestic way that they're supposed to be seen. It seems like the one's now moving off a little bit. I think they were sleeping in this red soil through the night. Because some of these rhinos, I think, if it was a little bit cool last night, they would lie right up against each other for some body heat, maybe on a nice open patch of soil here close by. But if I look at their faces, they've got some red soil all on their faces and on the sides of their bodies. So I think that they definitely were lying down here somewhere. I love how they size each other up, and they know exactly where that tip of that horn is, even though I don't think they can really see it because their eyes are on the sides of their heads. Always going for the feet. They're like trying to also push each other off of balance. The two at the top there is teaming up on this one here at the bottom. There, the one on the left that was not interested is being pulled into the fight as well. Okay, there's one of the lions that's just come out and is now walking down the hill back to where the lioness is. There's a lioness that's lying just out of sight here in the green bushes off to our left. Seems like this young sub-adult male's gone and interacted with her, rubbed his head up against her a little bit. I wonder if that is the mother of these sub-adults. They're just keeping an eye on these rhinos. Very inquisitive of the rhinos, indeed. And the rhinos are still going at it, still pushing each other around. Both teams facing each other off there. And look at those ears whenever they are super interested in, and when they just want to push their horns onto each other, those ears are looking straight or listening straight towards the other rhino. Oh, I don't know if you could hear that thump there. Every now and then there's a bit of a thump when the two horns smash with each other. Bit of a sneeze there, getting all that dust in the nostrils. Oh. The young female has taken the exit. She was the one that climbed over their heads there. And all three of the other ones are young males, it seems. The one that's here at the bottom, furthest to the left-hand side, he looks like he might be the stockiest and has the biggest muscle behind his head. So already all that testosterone and that muscle growing for when he needs to fight for territory later on. There's a small watering hole that's just over the little hill here, and we'll see if these young rhinos are maybe heading in that direction. But for now, I think Glenn and I are just going to drive around the thickets here, see if we can maybe get a view of lions here. But then we are going to send you in the meantime to Tristan, where he's got some lions.
Well, that wasn't too difficult. We followed his tracks a long way, but I managed to eventually pick him up. He's just starting to settle down for the morning, as you can see by that right there. Typical of the Avoca male lions is that they walk all night and then you find them, and this is what they do, is they are great at sleeping. Haven't seen them do too much else, but I suppose they're doing what's necessary, really, at this stage of the game. There's no other male lions coming in here, and they're fathering cubs, so what else do we really want them to do? They're fulfilling their role as male lions. But it amazes me how every time you kind of track these guys and they're moving, and I mean, we could see that this guy was moving, we could see the tracks getting fresher as we were going. Found where he'd lay down a couple times, and when we found him now, he was sleeping, and then he got up and started walking, and well, you know, that was that. So he hasn't found the pride. The pride should be to our north, directly kind of north of where we are, is where they were left last night, kind of coming south. So I think he's looking for them more than anything else. I'm surprised we didn't hear him roaring last night, though, because he's kind of walked all the way along the boundary, and from the dam cam we should have picked up his audio, or from the camp itself, which we didn't, which is a bit of a surprise. I would have expected, you know, to have heard him, but maybe because he's on his own, he's feeling a little bit more vulnerable. Remember, he's still got that front leg injury, which shouldn't slow him down these days. He's fairly accomplished walking with it, given that he's, you know, starting to kind of deal with it, and the movement and the muscles of that front leg are all starting to adjust to the fact that the leg is damaged. But yes, not going to be doing too much now, I don't think. I'm going to try just go around him so we can actually see his face rather than just his tail. See if maybe he'll pop his head up at some point. Just trying to think which side is going to be better. It's quite grassy and thick in there, so I'm not sure we're going to get a great view, but let's try go around him. It would be nice if he decided to roar for us this morning. I think it's a bit late. It's already quite warm, so I don't think we're going to see him roaring right now, but you never know. Maybe, just maybe, it's possible. Especially if the Talamatis start to make a bit of a noise, you might hear him kind of responding to them. But the Talamatis seldom roar without... This is really not great visual from this side. It was not my best call, this. I was hoping that some way we could kind of get his face through the grass, but the grass is so long on the side, it's actually a much better view in terms of the whole animal from the other side. Did you really have to fall asleep right now? It was going to be so beautiful because he was walking down the road and the light was pretty, and it was kind of, especially from behind him as he was walking towards the sun, his whole mane was outlined by this beautiful kind of sunrise light. It was very, very pretty, and then you've now ruined that by sleeping. You need to wake up for us and carry on doing what you're doing. No, I don't think that's going to happen. Like I said, it's warm already, so I suspect with the mane that they've got, we were talking about this yesterday, Trish and I was just saying that imagine being a male lion in this heat where it's so, so hot, you don't know what to even do with yourself, and then imagine having this massive collar of fur around your head. It must be the most suffocating thing, horribly irritating, I would imagine. And so given that it's about to get quite steamy out here, I think he's decided enough for the night. I'm going to sleep. And he's traveled a long way. If we kind of work out where he was seen, so he wasn't seen yesterday, but the day before, he was seen quite far north, in a kind of in the Manyaleti, actually, more than in Buffelshoek. So if I give you an idea on the map here, where he kind of was and what his movements have been. So 2 days or 3 days ago, he was here at Jordan's Dam, and then he moved his way along the boundary, came down, and then he was at Jacana Dam, and that was it yesterday morning? It might have been yesterday morning, actually. He left there and went into the Manyaleti off the map. So what the tracks have done today is they've come, I don't know where he came onto the boundary, but we picked up his tracks over here where it says Gari Buffelshoek cut line, and he's walked all the way along, and we've got him here close to this road that says Koran. So he's traveled quite a fair distance during the course of the night, which is probably why he's quite sleepy now, and he knows that with the day kind of progressing, the sun is starting to come up, it's starting to get hot, and so, there's no need for him to carry on. He's covered a lot of territory, he's marked as he's gone, which we can tell by the tracks, the way that he was veering to the sides of the road, to bushes, spraying, and then coming back onto the road. That he's done his job, like I say. And what I was saying earlier is that as much as it would be nice to see him walking and doing something, the Vokers are clearly doing something right, because they have somehow got this territory and they are keeping others at bay. Even when those 4 male lions came down briefly, through, I don't know if it's just their vocalizing or the fact that they've scent marked fairly well, they've managed to push these 4 back, and they are obviously still kind of here and seemingly with no sort of issues at the moment and no one pushing them. All right, we'll sit with them for a little bit longer. In the meantime, though, let's send you across to Deerwald and see what his lions are up to.
We just went around the corner, and at first we just thought it was a female lion with 2 subadult or 3 subadult males. But then Glenn just spotted lioness with the 2 younger cubs of the same pride. And you can see these youngsters are just keeping an eye on these rhinos that have now moved off to the right, and they're still sparring all the way around on the right hand side here, in a bit of a denser area. One's tail curled up there. Yeah, all the birds singing their hearts out early in the morning here. Here's rhinos are listening to us a little bit, but starting to feed as well. This one's going up onto a termite mound. Look at that. Go a bit forward. What in the world?
King of the castle.
Yeah, playing some King of the Castle there, that's correct. Oh, King of the Hill. Look at this one coming closer behind. Wonder if they'll get onto a termite mound or a hill like that, try and scratch their bellies or something. But I think these rhinos are just young and full of energy and a little bit playful. Yeah, there we go. You can see the square lip, those flat lips that we were talking earlier. Look at that Cape Glossy Starling that's just in front of this rhino here, hanging around to feed on the insects that they are disturbing. Oh, there, that one's going onto the termite mound as well. How incredible is that? Mountaineering rhinos. Let me see if I can keep her a little bit forward for us. They are listening to us. I'm just going to take it nice and slow as to not chase them off. But I think the wind is blowing in our favor as well. They are listening to us, but oh, look at that. Now we've got a perfect view of them climbing onto these little hills. A young female that got up there first. Seems like she's aiming to try and do that again. I think there's nice, fresh, lush grass that's nice and soft in the morning that they're feeding on there. The other one there next to is termite mound as well. You can see where they've been rubbing up against that termite mound. Nice thing to scratch themselves against. These two going at it again. So all these young bulls, I think them starting to push each other around and sparring a lot like this is all just showing you us what's going to happen in the future, when I think this is already starting to be a bit of a hierarchical dispute, even though it's not full-on fights, but maybe later on they don't need to fight that much and they already know where they stand. The young female's now walked out ahead of us, and she's slowly heading towards, well, I think towards the watering hole there. Beat on radar down, but you can make away. There, she's just smelling the ground there. And see how she's curling up her tail there. I think there's a dung midden. I can see some dung lying on the ground there in front on the road. And yeah, she's defecating there. Dropping some dung. So these young rhinos also coming to this dung midden to leave some sense for the next rhinos to come past and identify them, and they can smell all the information about them. But for now, I think we are gonna see where these rhinos go. Hopefully they go towards the water there and see if we can get them drinking.
we still at the water. You're back at Tswalu, and as we were leaving, we saw some gemsbokke, some oryx. They were alarming, and there was something potentially coming back through the background. So we haven't seen anything yet, but what has happened in the meantime is that one of the adult birds has gone back to sit on the nest. So we are a little bit further away from the nest. We're on the other side of the dam, and that does make a difference for the comfort of the adult. And with the Blacksmith Lapwing, both male and female are alike in what they look like, so we can't tell you if it's his shift or her shift on the nest at this point in time. But what you can see is it's facing away from us, but you're seeing black, white and grey. Those are, we were chatted about aposematic coloration in the butterflies yesterday. Black and white in the bird world is also like a warning coloration, and the Blacksmith Lapwing will vigorously defend those eggs as well as the chicks. Sometimes their dangers are monitor lizards coming to steal the chicks. I've even seen a Blacksmith Lapwing hold its wings out and defend the nest against an elephant, and it was giving an elephant lots of noise and shouting at it, and eventually the elephant was like, okay, well fine, then I'll go drink somewhere else. Obviously that didn't happen at Tswalu, but it happened where I've worked previously. So they can be very, very aggressive when they need to defend their eggs. There is also, the dabchick just left. He's floating. I don't know if you can see him there. Let me see. No. Just beautiful. We're hoping soon to see those little chicks hatch.
As you can see, a lot has changed from our angle perspective, but very little else. He is out cold. I don't expect him to be moving much at all this morning. I suspect that only when the sun hits him is he going to decide to even lift his head. But for now, we even had the anti-poaching patrol walk past him, and he didn't. And he kind of popped his head up, looked at them, and just flopped back down again. So he's not really even kind of worried about them, which is amazing to me, because often with the Vokers, not so much Darkmane, Mohawk's really the one that is so shy on foot. He normally sees people on foot and he's running for days, but Darkmane was fine. He just kind of, like I say, stayed at them, and they weren't far because they were just walking, patrolling the boundary, bumped into us, and he just kind of opened an eye, popped his head up, looked at them, and then flopped back down again, as if to say, I'm not worried about you guys, I've seen you guys before, you're not anything to stress about. But that is the life of a male lion right there. Just enjoy a good nap when the daylight hours strike, and then kind of move around more under the cover of darkness, particularly in the summer months. These poor guys, like I say, that collar of fur must be so uncomfortable that it makes sense that they move really under the cover of darkness when it's a lot cooler. As it gets hot and the day warms up, they just need to find shade, and they need to be able to pant and basically just stop themselves from overheating. So you can't blame them for doing this. It's just our timing wasn't quite right, unfortunately. But that's the way it goes. Sometimes you win, sometimes you don't. I haven't heard any updates, funny enough, on the Talamatis yet. I was listening carefully just to try and hear where they potentially have gone. Given that he's walking this direction, I suspect that they must be somewhere here. I think that's why he's come here. Maybe he's heard them calling at some point during the night, and he's just trying to close the distance between him and them. I'm not sure, but it would make sense. Generally, he likes to be with the pride. Most of the time, he is with the pride, and the reason why he isn't at the moment is because he was mating with one of the lionesses, and that split him from the pride. She then left him after a few days of mating, and then he's now been trying to, I think, relocate them for the last 2 days. He'll eventually get it right, obviously, through noises that the pride makes, through them hunting and alarm calls. Maybe they kill something which attracts the attention of hyenas or vultures. He'll eventually pick them up again. A male lion has, much like Tingana, got a nose for food, and they typically can find the girls pretty quickly when they really are looking for them. But not so much as even an ear twitch at this stage. Ruminant, so there's 5 in total. 3 that are in one coalition, although I don't really think we can call them a coalition these days. I can't remember the last time all 3 of them were together. So it's really 2 with the Nkuhuma Pride, 1 here with the Talamatis, and then you've got the 2 southern evokers, which are the ones that are down in Lionsand, Sabi, that area. So there's 5 total male lions that come from the Evoker Pride, but the 2 and the 3 never were a coalition together. So that's why it's a bit confusing. It's like the southern evokers and northern evokers. But yeah, 5 total if you read about them. They like I say, came from the same pride, but the 2 southern ones were a little bit older than these 3, and so they split it off a little bit earlier. And went on their own. And actually, they were probably lions that I had one of the biggest killing sprees in a night that I've seen personally. They came through Simambili the one night and killed 7 buffalo during our game drive, which was quite something. It was, granted, it was during the drought and the buffalo would just fall over, really. It wasn't like they were supremely skilled hunters and physically and crazy in terms of being able to pull down buffalo. It was literally, they were running up to buffalo, the buffalo were looking at them and they'd try to fight them, and they would just jump on it and the buffalo would fall over and they'd kill it. And of those 7 buffalo, they ate 1 and they left the other 6 just to rot. They didn't even eat them. They literally just walked away and carried on hunting the herd, ate the 1 and then moved off and did their own thing. So yeah, it's interesting. Oh, hello. Are you going to say hello to the car and pop your head up, or are you just going to lie down? No, we're just going to lie down and sleep. Yes. It's been all too much during the course of the night. But these guys are really yet to be tested. When I talk about coalitions and things like that, often coalitions have to be aggressive in their approach and take over an area. But these guys got quite lucky. They didn't have to do that. And then on top of it, since then, no one's really been testing them. So it'll be interesting if we do get a coalition that really comes here and tries to test these guys. Who knows what they're going to do. All right, there's another couple of vehicles that want to come into the sighting, so we're going to leave him and carry on, see what else we can find. In the meantime, let's send you across to Devalt, see how his morning is going.
So after these rhinos came to the dung midden and all defecated, every single one of them have gone back into their sparring competition. The 2 on the right hand side, they have been pushing each other around quite a bit. Every now and then there's a bit of a snorting sound or so. Okay, I think it's getting a little bit more serious the longer this is going on. We could see one of the young bulls actually kick his dung just a little bit, and that's already the first signs of trying to become dominant and trying to scent mark. When the bulls kick their dung open like that to spread the scent, and it's a territorial display as well. Bit of a sneeze there again. Yes, Cassie, you're asking how tough a rhino's skin is. Rhinos have exceptionally thick and leathery skin. So very, very tough, and you'll almost never see ticks sitting on the sides of their bodies or anything like that. But you might find that they sit in the crevices where the skin is a little bit softer and thinner. So I think that's one of the reasons why they've got almost no predators, apart from being big and being able to fight the predators off and being difficult to take down. They still need to get through that skin as well, which is very, very tough. And you can see it sits very tight on their bodies as well. You can see their ribs, even though they look like they're very fat, the ribs will stick out on the side of their bodies and sit very tight. Look at them all sizing each other up, just standing and listening and looking at each other. We were just looking at their feet earlier and how incredible all those 3 toes are. So they are known as 3 odd-toed animals. Got just the 3 toes, 1 big one in the front and the 2 smaller ones on the sides. And Glenn was just commenting how they look so prehistoric with those feet. This young male is making a lot of trouble just going and pushing everyone around. The young female is in the back left there, and then you can see this one that's here in front of us, that's the big bull on the left hand side. He looks the biggest between all of them, and I think he's probably the oldest, just looking at the height of his back as well compared to the others. And see how he's smelling the hindquarters of the young female there as well, really showing the signs of the bull that's starting to get into his fighting age. There, they look at that. I think they've decided that they want to go to the water. The female walking up ahead, and you can see the little pathway there in front of them that's been walked to the water and walked by all the animals over time. And I think the other 2 are actually coming back towards the dung midden. And look at that, smelling the dung. Oh, this younger one on the right is just full of nonsense this morning. Smelling the dung in that dung midden. So the rhinos will use dung middens like this spread out over this whole home range where they move around and defecate, and they can pass on information about the other rhinos and themselves, and then that way big dominant bulls can find mates. Look at that one trotting there towards others. And you're asking if rhinos mate seasonally or at any time of the year. So there's actually very few animals that do mate seasonally. Most animals, the females go into heat and they mate throughout the whole year, and rhinos are some of those animals as well. So rhinos, the females will go into heat whenever they are ready to mate, and then the bulls will actually find their scent, especially at dung middens like this, and try and track them down but with smell, and then mate with the females. So there can be rhino calves throughout the whole year or so, if you are lucky enough to find them with their youngsters, because it takes a long time for them to have their young. Look at these 2 here. Now pushing each other around. Seems like this young bull here that's on the right hand side with the red coloration in his side there, he is the one that's just pushing everyone around the whole time. Every now and then there's a bit of a tail curl up or so that happens. When rhinos curl their tails up, they're either going to the toilet, but when they curl it up with social interactions or when they're nervous, it's a sign of them being nervous, or maybe even aggressive if they do fight with each other. Seems like they are slowly moving off to the left-hand side now. Moving away from the water, not going to the water like we thought. They might just be walking along maybe another pathway or so around to the water on the other side there. But I think we are going to lose view of them pretty soon. Just that one there. Oh. Don't know if you heard that sound there. Big grunting sound. That was the bull that we think. That is the bull that we thought, that we think is the biggest or the oldest between them, and that is often a sound made when there's a bit of a dispute or a fight or so. So I think he's slowly getting to the point where he's going to leave all these other young rhinos and try and fight for his own territory, become a bit of a nomadic bull until he's big enough and old enough to fight for his own territory. I'm actually not sure. With rhinos, it can be very different. I think with white rhino, it's a little bit different to black rhinos. I would imagine that it's at least something like 50 to 70 kilograms or something like that of grass. With these younger rhinos, it might be a little bit less. But with adult rhinos, obviously much more. And even if you think of females that need to produce milk, they might even eat a little bit more. So, yeah, it's a little bit difficult to say because I think every single individual is different. But you can imagine that they need to eat a lot of grass. And their digestive tract is not as effective as a ruminant would be. So they need to feed quite a lot because they can defecate quite a lot while they're feeding. So the food passes through them very, very quickly. Grass. Let's see if we can creep a little bit forward and see if we can get a view of them. They actually moved around the thicket, so let's just see if we can go a bit forward and see if we can get a view of them. Okay, you can just see them off to the side here. They're actually all moving to a little spot that I think there might be another dung midden. Let's see if we can get a view of them. I'm gonna see if I can go around, avoiding to drive over some rhino dung, because if you drive over the rhino dung, you're actually taking the scent everywhere, and that might throw them off a little bit. I've actually had a big rhino bull follow our vehicle before, and some other rangers have also experienced it. Where you drive through a dung midden, and then the big bull will follow the vehicle or the scent of the dung that's stuck to the wheels. So try and avoid driving through some rhino dung, and in that way you are maybe even saving some dung beetles as well. Here they are right next to us. And just see if I can turn the vehicle a little bit. Actually seems like they are starting to feed a bit, spreading themselves out right here next to us. And we are very close to that small watering hole where all the action was happening yesterday as well. So again, this little spot giving us a lot of action. not making any noises as they're starting to feed. I think after the whole morning's sparring with each other, they are now more interested in feeding. Like we said, they have to keep this energy flowing and these big bodies going. So they need to start to feed and enjoy this grazing before it gets too hot. You can imagine if it gets nice and hot, they'll find a spot in the shade. But for now, we're going to send you over to Deirdre, where she's got a nest of some sort.
One behind me. So, welcome back to Tswalu. What we have found, we had really, really strong winds the other day. We had over 20 km/h winds, probably on Saturday. So, this poor nest has fallen out the tree. Over time, as you've watched Tswalu, I'm sure you've seen the white-browed sparrow weaver on TV, and this is their nest. But what's very interesting with their nest is it's a U shape. I can stick my fingers in both entrances as I turn it around. This one is called a roosting nest. So it would sit in the tree like that. And this would just be, the bird would be in the one side, just sleeping nice and warm. And one of them is the emergency exit. So it doesn't quite say it there, but emergency exit. So their biggest predator would be snakes, Cape cobras in the trees, boomslang. So that's a smart ways you can have an exit, a fast exit if need be. And then this will be one little colony that'll bring a nest in here, but there's only the dominant pair or the breeding pair. Everyone else is helpers, and they'll be happy to live here. So they live in these, or they sleep in these, but then if it's a breeding nest, they will close one of the holes of this two-sided nest, and that will then form a breeding chamber. Lovely, lovely little birds. So they've actually done, I read a study on them, that there's up to, the nests are made up of about just under 1,000 sticks. It said like 986 sticks, but obviously they're not going to all be 986 sticks. But just think about how many times those birds would have had to have gone and fetched a strip of grass, flown back to the nest, woven it into the shape. That's why they call them weavers, because they weave the grass. Other weavers will weave sticks, but yeah, 1,000 pieces of grass. That's something quite phenomenal. And being they say 2 to 11. I don't know how they get 11, but obviously they've counted them over and over and over again, and they seem to have never exceeded 11. So 2 to 11 in a little colony. There is actually a different nest right on the top there. If David can go to the other weaver's nest, we saw it pretty quickly, but you can see that that's a closed bowl shape. It's also woven a nice nest there, and they do choose thorn trees. Some of the weavers like to have their nest that overhang water, but here in the Kalahari they often choose a thorn tree because that keeps the predators away. And that one on the top there, you can see that the weavers also stripped all the leaves off around the nest, which gives it better visibility for predators. This is a camel thorn. You're seeing nice little seed pods that are actually starting. They've still got a long way to grow before they become the full camel thorn seed pod as we know them, before they're even ready to be dropped on the ground. That's just beautiful. Keep your questions coming. #WildEarth. And you can @FC if you want to ask us a question. We didn't see any come to the nest. So I'm going to leave this nest down here, back where we found it, so that that grass can decompose, as it were. I think, Darby, if you want to look at these flowers in the meantime, I'm going to quickly come and get. I had that's the devil's thorn. I had 2 samples. We do collect them every now and again in the tires. I'll show you. Here, I've got them waiting. One of them. I did say the other day I'm going to hold it on my hand, so I don't know if that helps, if I'm too close. Right up to the camera, so there you can see, once that flower has been pollinated and it goes into a seed, this is what happens. It's called a devil's thorn, sometimes 3 or 4 more spikes, and that's how that seed then gets transported to somewhere else. Most of the animals will then, when they're grooming, try and pull that out. They leave it somewhere else and it will get a chance to germinate. We're going to send you across to see what Devolt's got. We're going to carry on heading west into the dunes.
We were just sitting with the rhinos earlier, and then a small herd of wildebeest actually came over the rise and just came for a drink. And Glenn and I was just commenting on how quickly they drank. They were here less than a minute while in the water, drank and then just left. Look at this big bull that's standing here in front of us now, looking in the direction of where the lions were. I wonder if the wind is maybe blowing their scent onto him. See how he's smelling the ground? I think this is the dominant bull of this area. He's not too interested in moving away from the water just yet. So he is listening around and looking back this way all the time. And now he's looking back at the herd that's moved away. I think if we're patient, we might see him maybe scent mark or so. You can see it's a big bull just because of how those horns stick out past his ears. So with the big dominant bulls, those horns are nice and big. There's some zebras, it seems, also coming over the rise now towards the water. I think the animals can all sense that it's going to be a very, very hot day here today. So they're all coming nice and early to come and have a drink. I think he hasn't had enough to drink just yet. See if he comes back to the water. But these wildebeest coming to drink water so quickly, I suppose they are one of the animals that get preyed on by lions the most, and being around a watering hole is quite a nerve-wracking experience for them because they need to drink water, and I think predators know that. It's maybe why that pride of lions is not far away from here. I'm hoping that this wildebeest goes and stands in between those white-faced whistling ducks. You'll see them as he's walking around the watering hole there. He's coming to drink. Quite a beautiful reflection there as well. Don't mind me taking some photos there. How beautiful is that? He is very nervous around the water by himself like this. Look at the beautiful white-faced whistling ducks there. Such pretty birds. They flew off earlier when the whole herd of wildebeest arrived, and then they just did a big circle and then came back to sit next to the water here. They are so, so beautiful. Wow. There, that wildebeest is back at the water. I'm just keeping nice and quiet as to not chase him off. Anna-Marie, you are saying that his horns are smooth and shiny. That they are indeed. So with wildebeest, their horns stay shiny and smooth like this, and they actually grow out shiny like this. He is so skittish being by himself at this watering hole. You can see him jerk every now and then, having a little bit of a fright. So But Anne-Marie, also another thing is with the wildebeest bulls is sometimes, especially with a big dominant bull like this, he'll go and rub his horns and his face into the ground and maybe sometimes on some trees to scent mark against the trees. And if you look at his face there, you might see that there's some glands just on on the front of his face there. And they often rub those glands onto some trees also to scent mark. And I think that's just rubbing over the years those horns against some of the trees and stuff that makes it so smooth. There's a white rhino that's literally 2 meters behind us. I'm not going to move in my seat. I'm going to just keep my back to him. But he's really come really close to us because I don't want to move around and then he runs off. How close is that? If I should guess, that's probably around 4 or 5 meters away from us. Don't get a much better view of the flat lip that we were talking about earlier than that. Listen to him breathe out. How amazing is that? And here comes the other rhinos coming around, hoping that they are going to come to the water where all the other animals have been coming to drink. He was just a little bit inquisitive, coming to check us out. Look at the one yawning here in front of us. Oh my goodness. And standing. And they're actually feeding on a bit of grass here, but moving very, very slowly. But I think we're going to stick around this watering hole and see if these rhinos hopefully come and have a drink.
You are cheeky. That was a brave decision. Amber Eyes is... Oh. That is so magic. That was absolutely wonderful. Amber Eyes just gave that cub an enormous hug.
Expect the unexpected here on Wild Earth daily. An ever-increasing part of the global population is losing its connection with nature. Wild Earth is here to reduce people's stress and anxiety, allowing you to escape into nature even just for a few hours a day. However, Wild Earth is expensive to run, and we need help from you to keep this ship going. Wild Earth Explorers gives you the opportunity to be part of a program that supports the sharing of nature with the world.
This is Rusty. He's my favorite vehicle and we've been through all the good times here in the bush. Now, if you feel a connection to Djuma Game Reserve like I do, then we have a fantastic opportunity for you. You can have your name engraved on a brushed metal plaque just like this one, and we will attach it to Rusty so you can always be with us on safari in spirit. We will even send you a digital photograph once your plaque is mounted on Rusty. Spaces are limited, so grab your spot now.
Why is the Mara special? It's one of the only few places that you can find the annual wildebeest migration. I will still go for the lion. The main reason is a sign of royalty, leadership in my tribe, and apart from that, over here, it is feared by all but loved by everyone.
Catch up with the guides daily here on Wild Earth.
Welcome back to Tswalu. We've found this male ostrich and he was already lying down, so we don't actually know if he is or isn't sitting on a nest. We don't see a female nearby, but they don't have a set nesting season. For them, it would depend on the rains, food availability in the area, as well as then the female being able to produce a clutch of eggs. So we don't know if he's got eggs or if he's sitting on eggs, but if they are, a female can lay up to about 14 eggs. But the male's actually the one responsible for making the nest. So it's about a 2 to 3 meter shallow scraping in the ground. And then once he's made the nest and he's courted the female, she will then come and lay her eggs in the nest. And they take turns to sit on the nest. So the theory is that the male, being black feathered, you can see all the black feathers, is the one that would typically sit on the nest at night, and then the female would be the one that would sit on the nest during the day. So we've got, if Davy comes here, we actually picked up, a few days ago, we picked up an ostrich eggshell. I've got both. I've got the ostrich egg here, which we'll chat about now, but then also just the female that died the other day. On that cheetah kill that we saw. I've got one of her feathers, so that's just the brown feather to show you the color difference between a male and a female. But before I lose my feather pointer, I'll hold on to it. But I just wanted to show you the intricacy of the eggs. So this egg, when it's produced, it's weighing close on 1.5 kilograms. That's how heavy the ostrich egg is. The total egg size is about that. This is just a portion of the egg, but you actually notice all these little sort of pits on the egg. Those will be pores. Believe it or not, the chick inside does need to breathe somehow, and those will be able to be the oxygen transfer. A dominant female, or every ostrich female, knows which are her eggs based on the pore pattern. They do have something quite interesting, that if a male, he's polygamous, he mates with multiple females, and you'll find if there's a group of them, younger females or other females will actually contribute to what's called egg dumping. They will add eggs to the nest, and very often that female, that dominant female that sits on the nest, she recognizes her eggs, she puts them in the middle of the nest, and she puts the subordinates' eggs on the outside of the nest. And that's a very clever tactic, because she's always keeping her eggs warm, and she knows which ones are hers. And if there is a predator like a brown hyena or a jackal that chases them off the nest and grabs an egg, it's most likely going to be an egg from the subordinate, because it's going to be an egg on the outside of the nest. So this egg most likely did get taken by either a brown hyena or a jackal, even baboons. I just found the piece of the shell, I didn't find anything else, but I want to just show you how thick that egg is. So look at the edge there, and it's pretty solid. It sounds like porcelain. I don't know if you can hear that, but it's almost like hitting a tile. It's quite strong. I'll try and break a piece off. And you can see that I'm putting in quite a bit of effort, and I'm not successfully able to break that. So a female ostrich, it will take her 2 to 3 days to develop this egg. So she will start... she'll start laying the eggs, and then every 2 to 3 days add another one to the nest, and after about 25 days she starts sitting on the nest. She'll sit on the nest between the two of them, taking sort of time sharing on the nest, anywhere up to 58 days before the chicks start hatching. But yeah, I can't even break that. So the sand bushman would often find an ostrich egg. They'd make a little hole in the end, and that would be their water carrier. They'd make some kind of a woven, something like that mother-in-law's tongue that we use. They'd use that rope. They'd make it like a little carry basket, and then they'd use a sedge to prop the top. So just that would like be the cork, as it were, and that particular sedge is actually quite good with antibiotics and stuff, so the water wouldn't go off. And that would be how the bushmen would carry water, is they would use the ostrich eggs. So total equivalent of about 24 chicken eggs, so 24 chicken eggs make up an ostrich egg. We're going to send you across to Tristan.
Ostriches are amazing little creatures, and those eggs are super cool. It's one of the things that I wish we saw more of here. I mean, we do get them every now and then at Djuma and our traverse, but it's not a common sighting. Up on Buffels Hook and Torchwood, you get them more often than on Djuma itself. But anyway, we're at Chitwa Dam. At the moment, it is beautiful here this morning. It's fresh, it's clean. There's birds calling from all over the place. No sign, well, not too many signs of the hippos because it's so warm already. I haven't seen our crocs either. I was hoping to maybe get a croc on the bank, but it doesn't seem like they're out yet, which surprises me given that it's warm already. I would have expected them to be sunbathing by now. But the reason why we came onto Chitwa is we got nice fresh tracks for a female leopard, and we found where she defecated on the road when it was very fresh. The dung was still runny. It hadn't even kind of hardened on the outside yet. It was soft, and like I said, the liquid part of the dung hadn't even soaked into the ground. But unfortunately, it came down into Chitwa and then cut into Little Gari, which is a bit of a shame. I'm not sure which leopard it is. It could be Tandi, it could be Sibui, and it could be Tlalamba. All three of them have been in that area of late. So not really 100% sure which one. And the other reason I came to Chitwa is because I was hoping maybe we could find Sibui's cubs. The two of them were just south of the Chitwa boundary yesterday. But unfortunately, it sounds like the one just killed an impala south of the boundary, and the wild dogs just chased it further south towards Mala Mala and stole the kill. So I think both cubs have probably been pushed south by those dogs. But interesting to know that the cubs are making kills of their own already. It's pretty cool to hear that they are. I mean, it's an impala lamb, but still, it's a kill. And you probably find opportunistic one at that, because the dogs probably flushed those impalas straight into those leopards, and the instinct kicked in, and they've grabbed it. But once they start learning, okay, hang on a second, this is how I can hunt, you're going to find that they're going to be a lot more proactive about hunting things like impalas, and the separation between them and mom is not far away these days. And so you're going to see that they're going to have to really start focusing on kind of finding their own food. So it's a really good sign that they're getting it. I mean, it's a pity that the dog stole it, but at the end of the day, it's a valuable lesson for them. You can see two Nyala bulls on the other side. Always Nyalas here at Chitwa. They hang around all the time. And as much as it's beautiful to see these guys, and I really love a Nyala. Nyala is one of my favorite antelope in Africa. They really shouldn't be here. These guys are not actually supposed to be in this part of the world. Their habitat restriction should be on the eastern coast of South Africa, so where Pinda is. But they were brought up into this area, and they've now started to flourish, which is a problem because they are outcompeting the bushbuck heavily. And the numbers of bushbuck are just in this constant state of decline. We're finding that Nyala numbers are spiking and bushbuck numbers decreasing due to them occupying a similar niche. But the Nyala being larger outcompetes those bushbuck pretty much every time. So it's a bit of a shame, but that's the way it is at the moment. You'll also have noticed a white bird that's in the foreground there. That was a spoonbill that's moving around. Quite a few spoonbills around. I've seen here, I've seen them on Buffels Hook, seen them at Buffels Hook Dam, Gari Dam. So there's a fair number of them milling about at the moment, and they have that characteristic way of feeding. There's also a heron there in front, or behind the spoonbill. So you can just see the spoonbill just in front of the Nyala, and then the heron on the other side of it. Pretty though, isn't it? Something about Chitwa Dam. I absolutely love coming down here. In the morning, like now, it's a little bit tricky because of the light. But if you're here at first light and you get that sun just rising over the water, it's absolutely beautiful. It was one of my favorite things to do with Geese, is just come out first thing in the morning, park on the dam, turn the car off, and watch the sunrise happen over the dam itself. And at that same time, you could listen out for all kinds of things. Because of the height of the dam wall here, you get a really good sense of what's going on around you, and you can hear alarm calls or calls of lions. And so it's a really, really great place to start your morning. And then also, we know at sunset can be pretty special as well. Sassy Cassie, you're asking if canoes are only found in Africa. So yes, you only find them in Africa. So you get here in South Africa, we get the black and the blue. And then if you go up into East Africa, you get two species up there. There's the white-bearded, which is the one that a lot of you will know from the Masai Mara. And then if you go into Tanzania, you get one that's called Nyasa. Nyasa wildebeest, beautiful animal. Looks actually, funny enough, quite similar to a Nyala and Kuri in that it's got a little white chevron across its nose. So they're a beautiful wildebeest as well, and a lesser known one of the wildebeest species. So, but none outside of that, or certainly none that I know of. Never heard of anything outside of Africa. Actually just going to sit and keep quiet for a bit because so many birds calling. It's beautiful just to listen to all the sounds. Crazy. In just that short little period, I've counted 11 birds calling, or bird species. So there was Deirdre cuckoo, woodland kingfisher, Egyptian goose, I heard Cape turtle dove, there was a three-banded plover that called, there was spotted thickneys, so there's all kinds of things that are calling at the moment. It's just so magical to sit here. Odd Franklin's also been going. Very, very cool. All right, so we're going to bumble on. We're going to go see what else is out there. Hopefully we'll pick up on something somewhere in the nearby vicinity.
We just have the view of this one rhino that's left at the watering hole, his bum here. And he was actually fighting a little bit, or had a bit of a argument with one of the other rhinos, and he's the last one to go for a drink there. But it seems like the rest have moved off to the left-hand side. I think he's going to try and catch up with them. And there's some zebras off to the left that are patiently waiting for these rhinos to have the drink so they can come and have a drink as well. Listen to all the crowned lapwings calling here next to us. So there's some crowned lapwings, but there's a interesting little bird in between them. Let me just get my binoculars onto them. These lapwings, so beautiful with their red legs, the red spot on their bills, and the little crown on top of their horns as well, on top of their heads. Sorry, I'm thinking of rhinos the whole time, saying horns. Quite a lot of them in this little spot. And then all the white-faced whistling ducks there next to the water as well. The wind is blowing, I think, from the zebras now. Listen to these lapwings just going on. But the zebras have not come closer to the water yet. I wonder if they are very nervous around the water. Maybe they can smell that the lions were here last night. They are not coming closer at all, just standing and listening and looking in this direction. And just by the looks of things, if I look at the one that's standing with his side on towards us. It looks like a stallion. And if you look on his shoulders and on his neck, he's got a lot of bite marks there from fighting with other stallions, where he's been bitten and kicked. Seems like he wants to do a bit of a bigger loop to see what's going on around this watering hole here. Luke, you're saying that you love lapwings around water like this. You often find quite a few. Interesting, around this watering hole, there's no African wattled lapwing. Sometimes around the edges of water, you'll see some African wattled lapwings, often nesting close by, but I think there's just too many crowned lapwings here. So, and no space for other lapwings in this area, and even you'll have some Blacksmith lapwings sometimes around the water, but also not around this watering hole here. Those zebras are very, very, very nervous, it seems. See how they're listening towards us? Both of them stallions, so these are two stallions that don't have harems yet, or haven't fought for females just yet, and don't have their own females yet. They keep on looking over our shoulders here, and in the back there I could see some impalas and so on that's also maybe on their way to the water here. So if you were with us yesterday afternoon, you'll know that the lions were coming and drinking and sleeping and scent marking all around this watering hole. So I'm sure they can smell that, and they're a little bit nervous about that. Look at the stallion is just listening straight in this direction. Actually turning around and walking back the way they came. A bit of a yawn there from the stallion as well. And his friend is following him. So yeah, he's just coming a little bit closer to this side to keep an eye on those impalas. The impalas have the same coloration as a lion would, that tawny colour. Quite a bit of yawning happening there from the zebras. Yeah, I think the movement in the distance is just catching the zebra's attention. Trying to figure out what it is, if it's danger or not. Nadine, you're asking how far zebras can travel in how far in distance they can travel during the day. During this time of the year, they can walk kilometers and kilometers to get to water, because they'll try and drink every single day if they can, if water is available. So I think they move quite long distances, but you'll find in the summer or in the middle of summer when we've had quite a bit of rain, and there's maybe a lot more water around on the reserve, they might not move that far and actually stick to very small areas. So you'll find that the stallions and their harems that have their home ranges really close to watering holes don't even need to move that far, but some of the other individuals that need to move quite long distances for water would. So the stallion is just staring straight to, hasn't really moved his head or nothing, just keeping an eye on that movement there, trying to figure out what it is. So when they've got a lot of other zebras and a lot of other wildebeest and other animals with them, they'll maybe be a little bit more confident to come and drink. But because it's only the two of them, there's not a lot of eyes to look out for many predators. Oh, there's actually some, what looks like some wattled starlings that are walking in front of the zebras behind the little green bushes there. And just like other starling, the Cape glossy starlings, they'll also feed on some insects or so that the zebras might be chasing out of the grass or so. Stallion is still just staring, not moving too much. You can just see the way that he's standing. He's taking some weight off of his one back leg there. You're looking at the water. You can just imagine that they are super keen to drink, but don't want to take the risk of just coming down to the water. Let's go. So you're asking if zebras make any sounds. They do indeed. The zebras have an alarm call, which is a snort of sorts, and then they also actually have kind of like a neigh, a neighing sound like what horses would have, but it's very iconic to zebras. It's impossible for me to make the sound, but it essentially sounds like whistling in the distance. And maybe if we stick around this area for long enough and there's maybe some other zebras that come and join and there's some social interaction between some stallions and other herds, then we'll maybe hear them making their sounds. But yes, zebras can be quite vocal. Bit of a breeze picking up now. Let's see. Okay. See, these are white-faced whistling ducks. In the watering hole here now, there's some of them that are actually falling asleep. If you look at the ones on the left hand side there, they are tucking their bills underneath their wings and falling asleep. But look how beautiful their coloration is, that chestnut color on their chests, on their necks, and then the fine stripes and barring on the wings there. They are so beautiful. Look at the two there on the right hand side, actually grooming each other a little bit. Preening each other. I wonder if those two are mates. Mating pair, and building their bond by grooming each other and gleaming each other's feathers like that. One's actually turning his head upside down for the other one to preen. It looks like the one on the left is really enjoying it, turning his head upside down. We can see some warthogs and stuff coming in from the distance. So I think for now we'll maybe see if we can stick around and see what other animals come down to the watering hole here. Otherwise we're gonna maybe turn around and see if we can get another view of those lions that were lying in the thickets and see what they are up to.
We're just marveling at nature here, that it is a skeleton, but it would have been the most spectacular camel thorn at one stage in its life. It's the only tree that gets a tree trunk that large. And we have shown you some big camel thorn trees over time, but just you can just see how once it's died and fallen over, how that in this environment, nothing decomposes quickly. That'll still be around for a number of years, but it just makes such a nice place for animals like mongoose, or even a little Cape fox or something could maybe live in there. You probably find some skinks in and out there. It's just a nice opportunity to have a sheltered burrow. But those camel thorns can live hundreds of years and get really, really large. I think they've recorded some camel thorn trees probably close on, I actually don't want to lie to you, but hundreds of years with a massive, massive taproot. I mean, so the roots going down 40 to 60 meters to absorb water from the water table quite low down.
You can see it right inside of it.
Amazing. Do you see anything? Let me have a look. Yeah, there is lots of sand blown in there, but even a nice place for a snake to live. A genet definitely would be quite nice and warm. If I was an animal, I'd be quite happy with a house like that.
There's those white-faced whistling ducks, just still a few of them sleeping, but they've all woken up because there's now a warthog that have just come and started drinking right next to them. See if we can have a look at this warthog a little bit closer. Just by looking at the face, I haven't seen the hindquarters of this warthog yet, even though it's got quite big tusks. If you look at the growths, there's like these little bumps just below the eye of this warthog. They look relatively small. So, if I look at the face, it looks like it might actually be a female, but the tusks are quite big. So let's see if it turns around. If I look at the body size as well, it looks like it might be a male, a boar. But we'll see just now. There's actually another warthog a bit further off to the left, but we'll see. Hopefully this one that's drinking in right now, it's heating up very, very quickly. So I'm hoping that he or she's going to wallow a little bit for us as well. And look at that long mane that's lying over its back. Almost like it's been combed to both sides. These tusks are quite heavy and thick-set. So the growth on the face says it's a female, but those tusks tells me it's a male. And you can see that sharp little bottom tusk there. Oh, it is a female. There we go. Look at that. So good to go with the warts on the sides of the face and see if those are big or small. And if they're big, then it will be a boar. Oh, she's got nice big tusks for female. she looks heavily pregnant. So still hasn't had a piglet yet. You can see those teeth are also a little bit swollen, so it's got a bit of milk in there already. Look at that tail wagging away, trying to chase the flies off of her back. You're asking what a warthog's tusks are made of. Well, they're essentially big tusks, and big teeth. So I think they do have a little bit of ivory in them, but I think it's actually just enlarged teeth more than anything else. So the same substance that the other teeth would be made of, I guess. It's bone mostly, so. Whenever you find warthog carcasses that lions maybe caught a while ago, so the tusks actually don't biodegrade or don't decompose or anything like that, because they are mostly bone, and they actually have like a bit of a shell over them and the bony part on the inside. Look at it raising its mane on its back just a little bit. Very inquisitive of another warthog, and the zebra is coming a little bit closer. Look at the zebra stallion here that's actually smelling the ground every now and then. For a moment I thought he was actually going to lie down and roll in the dust there. These zebras almost looked like they were going to come down for a drink when the warthogs were having a drink, but still not too confident about it yet. The zebra is picking up all the movement, so everything we don't see, he spots very, very quickly. Dean, you're asking how long warthogs are pregnant for. So, there's actually quite a few of them coming down to the water now on the right hand side there. Sorry, Dean, just to get back to your question. So, warthogs are pregnant for about 180 days or so. So, what is that? Like half a year? 6 months? And there is quite a few youngsters that we've seen that have been born already. Glenn and I actually found a female with 5 piglets this morning, but she was unfortunately in an area where we were unable to have a look at them. Look at this one here coming down to the water and to a little bit of a muddy section there. She's coming down to drink. So look at that little growth there on the side of the face. Still very small, but also nice sized tusks, but not as big as the tusks of the female we saw earlier. You can see that round belly as well. All these warthogs coming to have a drink of water before it gets too hot, so trying to also avoid the rush of all the animals later on when it's really hot. Interesting that we haven't seen a single one of them wallow in the mud just yet. making me think that them wallowing is more about cooling down than really taking care of parasites or insects or anything like that. Bill, you are asking what warthogs eat. So they actually have quite varied diets. They feed on all the small, they feed on grass. I've seen them feed on small little herby plants as well. And they even feed on tubers. They'll dig up little tubers, push their snouts into the ground to try and sniff out some roots maybe or so. But I've seen some very interesting behavior of warthogs chewing on carcasses as well, going for a little bit of meat and scavenging a little bit. So I think they are seen as omnivores, but most of the diet is vegetation. So like most big species, they actually do feed on meat if they can find it or when it's available, but it's not common with warthogs. Like I said, I've only witnessed it once before, seeing a warthog chew on a carcass there. Going back up to the other watering hole to have a drink on that side. Every now and then you'll see one of these warthogs run away from the watering hole, and then when it seems like there's another one that comes to drink, then they've got a bit more confidence. So they just don't want to drink just by themselves, making sure that there's an extra pair of eyes to keep an eye out for predators. I'm quite baffled by these zebras not coming to drink and just standing and waiting. Wait and see if they actually drink when other animals come and join them. Oh, here we go. Look at the zebra. He looks so interested in coming to the water, just smelling the ground. But I think we are going to send you over to DJ for now with a millipede and see if we can maybe get a view of some other animals around this area.
So we seem to be doing quite a lot on all our little invertebrates lately, but we have found this super champion. Look how big he is. I'm going to put my hand relative to this millipede. That's the length of my hand. So they don't grow small in the Kalahari. And this guy's been busy. He's been up and down here. Nice little sign of the tracks. They make a little two-track with their legs. And he's constantly feeling with the antennae as to where he's going. He's a bit close. Let's see. So maybe I'm a little bit of a millipede whisperer. Yes, no. So my mother tells me a story. I don't remember this, but apparently, maybe this was the start of my career, was the fact that I used to race these in nursery school, and if I had a winner, I would take him home in my lunchbox. Much to Mum's disgust, much to mine the next morning when I had sandwiches instead of my winning millipede. But clearly that was an early start of my career. So I did just move him there for the camera, but didn't harm him in any way. He's just going on his way, but now you can see how he makes his little two tracks there. So he's a detritivore, so he'll feed on decaying material. sometimes also some plant material. And they've, after the recent rains, they've been tunneled underneath the ground. So they've been just waiting out winter. And, oh, please don't fall, please don't fall. I would feel responsible if he fell in the hole. But wow, look at the grip. He's literally, oh. That's impressive. I don't know if he can reverse. That'll be very interesting to see. If he's like, oh, I've got myself into a bit of a pickle here. He's playing a little bit of... Oh. He's trying to figure it out, but it's amazing how those legs get purchased. So Beetle is asking a question as to how many legs they have. So it's because they call them millipedes, you would think that that would be millions, but they actually just have 2 legs per segment. And they have multiple legs, probably well over 100 plus, but not millions, not milli, but just meaning lots and lots of legs. Oh, he's actually backing up. Look at the little wave motion of the feet. He's figured out, I can't actually get purchased, I'm going to fall, so I'm just going to back it up slowly. You can almost hear that little beep, 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 beep sound like a delivery truck, backing himself up there just to make sure that he doesn't injure himself in any way. Oh, that is amazing. So 2 legs per segment, and they will, as they grow larger, they do molt, but we never see the molt from a millipede because they actually reconsume that so that they get those proteins back, and then they will get bigger and bigger. So each time they grow, they are gaining more pairs of legs. Just put yourself in his perspective. Right down on the ground. I mean, it would effectively be like us walking through a city skyscrapers, but there's grass and plants and trees. It's just absolutely awesome. So those antennae are their sense of smell. That's how it can smell and know where it's going. They would be starting to look, as with any animal, they're looking for a mate so that they can mate and they can transfer either sperm to eggs, vice versa, and then bury those in the soil, and hopefully you'll get little millipedes the very next season. Absolutely awesome. So they belong to the group Diplopoda. Diplo meaning 2 legs. Sorry, just send that question again, it broke up. Benjamin's question is, what would eat a millipede? So they actually carry a toxin inside them that's like, it's known as a hydrocyanic acid. So they're not very palatable to many things, but I have seen hornbills eating them, I've seen scorpions eating them, and often you see the discarded rings over time outside the scorpion burrows. But one of the nocturnal animals that you may see at night time on some of the other properties would be the African civet. This is one of their favorites. This is like candy for an African civet and one of their predominant food sources. But that hydrocyanic acid is one of the ways that the millipede protect themselves. If it's a smaller millipede, sometimes they flip onto their back and they wiggle almost like a snake to appear threatening to get away from a predator. If it's a slightly medium-sized millipede, it'll actually roll up into a ball, so just into a spiral shape, just to try and protect the head. So the head tucks in first, and they roll their legs around them, and they almost make themselves quite a hard package. In jungles and forested areas, you do find lemurs and monkeys sometimes irritate those millipedes and actually rub them all over the skin and get that foul liquid all over them, and it's believed to be almost like an insect repellent. So they don't harm them, they just irritate them in order to get that toxic secretion. I like this, just a wave of legs. Very, very nice. So he'll just keep moving, looking for food. He's been, I say he, but it's a it. I can't tell you whether it's a male or a female. He's been busy here. So Carl is asking the question, where are their eyes located? So at the head where there's a bit of a curve, they've got what's called compound eyes. I'm going to try and find my insect book while Darby stays on that, and then maybe I can show you a picture. But
well, unfortunately, it sounds like Tswalu's got a little bit of an issue, so you were back with us. We're just scratching at the moment, trying to find any sign of, well, anything really. It's been quiet this morning. We haven't found many tracks to work with. The only tracks that we did find went where we couldn't follow them. They went into an area we don't traverse. So now I'm just bumbling where I last had Kuchava's son. It's obviously rained since we had him, and so he could easily have left this area, or could just still be in this section. But I know that they had his mom yesterday morning by herself, and so unless she was successful last night, he might still be milling around this area. I just want to come nice and slow and just check very, very carefully, see if we can't find a sign of him. Because, well, why not? He's been a little treat this week, so, and we've had some good luck with him, so might as well try again and see what we can get. Failing all of this, we'll probably head westwards towards the western side of Djuma, see if there's any sign for Shitulu, Hokamuri, Tlalamba, Tingana, anybody really. Or in some ellies. Some ellies would be nice. It's warm enough for ellies today, so they should start coming out now that the wind has settled after the last 2 days. Often what you find with elephants is when the wind is up, they are not hugely visible. They're not a huge fan of windy days, so they typically disappear when it's very, very windy, and then come out after a few days of heat when the wind is settled.
Have you been watching Wild Earth and dreamt of being right there on safari with one of the guides? Well, now you can. Wild Earth is offering you a chance to buy a ticket to dream. You or a friend can hop on board a live Wild Earth show and join our guide on safari. The ticket is redeemable at any of our locations, anytime in the future. Only a limited number of tickets are available, so don't wait. Get your ticket now and start dreaming. Terms and conditions apply. Wild Earth is launching our brand new Explorer program with an opportunity to win a very special Wild Earth expedition. The lucky winner will get a behind-the-scenes Wild Earth experience at the magnificent and beyond Ngala Tainted Safari Camp. The prize includes a 3-night stay for you and a friend with a chance to sleep out in the unique Ngala treehouse. Become a Wild Earth Explorer and stand a chance to win this and many other prizes. Terms and conditions apply.
My name is Ross, and I'm a field guide at and beyond Pinda Private Game Reserve. I love getting questions from guests on Wild Earth because I love sharing and learning information about nature with new people, and it also makes me feel like you're all joining me in real life. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, go to our live safari page and submit your question below our live feed.
Oh, it's going to be in trouble now. Oh, this is unbelievable stuff. Here comes a hippo in too. Go, Impala. There's a hippo coming in. I can't believe what we're seeing here. This is what we normally see in East Africa. It's all over. Hippo leaping at the crocodile now. Everything's gone underwater.
Expect the unexpected here on Wild Earth daily.
So our millipede has taken himself out of the shot. He's gone down into the burrow. You can actually see all the little tracks there, gone down and in there, maybe just investigating that area for potential for some food or something like that. But I have got a picture of a compound eye. It's not a millipede's eye, but I'll just show you here in the book. This looks probably more a little bit like the head of a grasshopper, but you can see what I mean by a compound eye. So multiple little eyes make up one big eye. You can just imagine how much information they're seeing from that. So generally darker in color. You have millipedes red, black. The red and black ones would be more for showing that they are toxic or poisonous. So the difference between sort of poison and venom in insects is poisonous means if you are ingested, if somebody swallows you, then you don't taste very nice. And venom is generally something that's injected. So a scorpion would inject venom using the stinger on the tail, and then an animal that ingests something poisonous like those monarchs from yesterday, the orange and black butterflies, or a millipede, that's generally when they are then classified as poisonous or toxic. Oh, he's gone. So we're here right next to a... So we're going to send you from insects to reptiles. Tristan's got something interesting to show you.
Indeed, it is a reptile that's having a very nice nap. It almost looks like a leopard, kind of lounging in a marula tree. And not easy to spot these guys when they do this because their coloration really does blend in so well. Often you kind of drive past and it's a sort of secondary glance that catches them. They have the perfect tone to blend in, particularly with something like a marula tree, which has got those kind of flecks of light grey and dark and a few little lichen patches. You find that these guys have a very similar marking, and they love marula trees, particularly ones that have a hole in them. And so if you look just below his tail, well, I say he, I mean it could be a she, just below the tail there's a little hole in the tree, which would be where this monitor lizard is living. So just a little bit lower, there you go, you can see it there. And so it goes inside there during the night and then comes out, suns itself on the marula, and then from there it will then go and start looking for food, and that will be various different things that it will go looking for. Eggs particularly are a firm favorite for a monitor lizard. Once it's eaten and it's done its thing for the day, it then comes back, crawls back inside there, and then it doesn't have to worry so much about predation, because even though these guys can be quite fierce and they've got a serious bite force and a big tail, things like leopards, particularly a young little male leopard that we know has been hanging around here, he would go after that in a heartbeat. And so they need somewhere to shelter during the course of the night, so as they don't get caught out by these spotty cats that roam around, and also birds of prey. Martial eagles absolutely hammer these guys as well, so they need escape places, which is like holes in the tree. And this is the rock monitor, so we get the two species. Very easy to tell the difference between them. These guys have the very blunt muzzle, very, very kind of rounded head, and then a grey body. The Nile monitor or water monitor has a much sharper face with that kind of green and yellow blotching that you see on them. You also wouldn't find a Nile monitor or water monitor sitting like this in a marula where we are right now. There's no water anywhere close, so they typically won't come into this area at all. This would be the realm of the rock monitors. And like I say, the camouflage is amazing. If we kind of see from our perspective, a sort of wider view, it's amazing to see how difficult these guys can be to spot. So when it's close, it looks really easy. But look at how, as we come out, it just blends in and becomes near impossible. So that's the view pretty much that we have. And the only reason that you can spot it is you see that there's a slight little bump in the tree where the head breaks the outline of the horizon. That gives a way this guy, but the camouflage is amazing. Very, very cool. Going to have a relaxing day, I would imagine. We're not going to get up to too much just yet. It's just going to warm up after the rain. Animal admirer, you're asking if they're related to chameleons. So not in the same family, no. I mean, they are part of the reptiles, but they're not the same kind of family grouping. So yeah, they related. No, it's not like leopard, lion, kind of that genus. These guys are in the same order, but they're not in the exact same family grouping. But you'll find that obviously with reptiles you'll have kind of lizards, that will be a certain section, and then you'll have chameleons, you'll have all these kind of things, and they're broken down, and they all, because of they have individual characteristics. And so with chameleons and these guys, chameleons have very, very different body structures to what a monitor lizard has. The monitor lizards don't have the same tongue, they don't have the same eye capabilities that chameleons do, they don't have the ability to change color. Also, foot structure is completely different. So from an anatomy point of view, they differ so much that they wouldn't be in the exact same family. Alright, I think we'll leave our monitor lizard to carry on sunning himself. He doesn't seem like he's going to be up to too much. We're just going to continue just to check around here, see if we can find any sign. In the meantime, back across to Devils.
So the zebras actually did come, and only one of them had a drink, and then they started moving off. But we've got some Egyptian geese that have come and joined the watering hole here, and there was actually now these two warthogs on the left of the white-faced whistling ducks as well. They have actually we saw one warthog starting to wallow a little bit, but yesterday Glenn and I was just chatting about how it was really hot even this time of the day, but today it's nice and cool. There's a very cool wind blowing at the moment, so I think that's why there's a lot of animals that have not come down to the water just yet, and it's still early. These two Egyptian geese are so beautiful. And they are also enjoying this cool water. And the white-faced whistling ducks, a lot of them falling asleep still, and sleeping with their bills tucked in behind their wings there. So many warthogs that are coming down to the water here. Just shows you how dependent warthogs are on water. They'll come and drink a few times a day if it's available, only moving away to go and feed on some vegetation and maybe grass a little bit further away. So these are called geese. Your Egyptian pie, you are calling asking why they are called geese and not ducks. So these Egyptian geese are, I'm guessing, geese and ducks are, the difference between them is that geese are a little bit bigger, and also I guess the body structure and the bill structure, and so you can see the size difference between the Egyptian geese and the white-faced whistling ducks there next to them. Now if you have a look closely at their back quarters, you'll see they've got like a nice dark patch there, and if the light just catches it, it's got a beautiful green shine to it. And that is actually the tips of their wings. So when they open their wings completely, they have beautiful iridescent wingtips. A warthog just running past there in the back. I think this wind is also making a lot of the animals a little bit nervous around this watering hole, because they can only smell what the wind is bringing, so can't smell the opposite side of what the wind is blowing, and also really can't hear too much because this wind does take away from their sense of hearing, so really relying on eyesight when the wind is blowing like this. And that's why I think a lot of the animals are a little bit nervous coming down to the water here, because obviously when their heads go down to drink, they can't see around them all the time. Egyptian geese are just slowly drifting along. This watering hole is not very, very deep. I remember the warthogs and even the buffalo climbing in here, and you could see that it was not deep at all. I wonder if these Egyptian geese are able to just rest on the bottom there without having to float all the time. There's actually a Cape glossy starling that has come down to the water as well. Look at that beautiful coloration with the sun shining on it, or also that iridescent blue color, almost the same coloration as the tips of the wings of those Egyptian geese. Just to hear some warthogs fighting there in the back. I don't know if you heard the squealing there. For a moment I thought it might be lions or something catching a warthog, but the zebras were standing right next to the warthogs there and didn't run away, so I think just some warthogs fighting with each other. Here's a warthog coming down, or actually just going around. So a lot of them going to drink water at the watering hole there, little puddle there at the top. Seems like there's a lot more fresh water in that little puddle there compared to the one here at the bottom where all the animals come and wallow. I think this one is quite muddy down here at the bottom. Oh, warthogs don't want to share the water. Chasing each other away. See the female that's drinking now there, just chase the other one away, got a bit bigger tusks, so not taking any nonsense. There's a few wildebeest that's coming to drink now. Coming over. Looks like quite a lot of bulls, so like a bachelor herd of bulls that's coming to the water. See how all of them just stop before coming directly to the water, looking around. Look at all these wildebeests just coming around, not going directly to the water, making sure there's no predators around. Slowly coming to the water. Look at that. Being very, very careful. Like I said, yesterday we didn't have that much wind and they just came down to the water very quickly, but today a little bit more nervous. Incredible how the wind affects the movement of the animals. they are so interested in drinking. So remember how we said earlier there was a few wildebeest that just came to drink, but they drank very, very quickly and then moved off. Listen to that one alarm calling there a little bit. But I think it's just to us. All coming to drink right here next to us. Sarah, you're asking why the animals are so scared to drink today. And like I said, I think it's directly related to this wind blowing a little bit stronger than yesterday. And also the lions that were here last night, when we heard them roaring and they were scent marking all around this watering hole. So I'm sure the scent of these lions around here and the wind blowing, just everything together is making the animals very nervous to just come and have a drink. Oh, one bull just chased another young bull away. I think tension's also high between all these bulls. Like I said, it looks like a big bachelor herd, so they might even fight between each other for a bit of dominance and hierarchy between each other. So they're all looking in different directions and snorting, like giving their alarm calls. I think it's because they can smell all the other lions that were around here. They are very, very nervous. Definitely some social stuff going on here. Well, look at this one chasing the others. That must be the big dominant bull that's chasing them. Don't go in that direction. There's some lions in that direction. Yeah, all of this alarm calling and alarm snorting like this. I think they can definitely smell the lions, but I have no idea where they are. Oh, here comes that big bull again. Oh my goodness. See this bull, there he goes again. I think he's the dominant bull of this territory, and he's trying to maybe keep these other bulls in check. He's just gone off behind us now. Let's see, there's still these other individuals that's standing here. So remember that the lions are still lying in the thickets to where these wildebeest are going. Sean, you're asking what the difference between blue and black wildebeests are. So while we just wait for these wildebeest to move a little bit, so with blue wildebeest, they've got horns that are almost in the shape of a buffalo's that grow to the sides, and a black wildebeest, their horns grow forward and straight up, so they have way more straight horns. And then another thing with black wildebeest is they've got white manes, and their tails are almost completely white as well. And the geographical place where they occur is much, much different, where black wildebeest is actually endemic to South Africa. So they occur on the grasslands of South Africa also, where blue wildebeest occurs all over the whole of Africa, and they are the ones that you see in the Great Migration in those places. Some of them have just come off here to the right-hand side now, and they're still chasing each other. There's actually a big bull that's standing on a little bit of a rise there. You're just smelling the ground now. I wonder if that's the big bull, the big dominant bull that's been chasing everyone around. So he's bobbing his head up and down. So he's smelling the ground. Let's see, look how he's scratching. Might see him rub his face into the ground there as well. Oh, there we go. Yeah, so that is a scent marking display there, and he is the dominant bull. See how he's defecating on that little patch that he was scratching there. Might see him roll around into it even a little bit more. Oh, there he's chasing the other one. Hey. Well, incredible to see them run like that. I think now there's the rest of the herd has come and joined them here. RJ, you're asking if wildebeest defend each other when they are in trouble. I think it depends on what predator is predating on them or something like that. I've seen females try and protect their youngs, their calves, when being taken down by leopard or cheetah, but often when it's lions they just run off and they'll keep watch from a distance. So I think it really depends on what danger they're in, but they'll try and defend each other, but it's mostly females protecting their calves. It's not really just adults trying to protect each other. But a very good question, interesting. I've never really thought about it, but wildebeest don't care about each other, only about their young. Now they're still chasing each other around there in the back. Yeah, so that was definitely the dominant bull coming and scent marking around here and chasing the rest away. All of a sudden this watering hole has just become a little bit more busy. We've got a few more warthogs and that whole herd of wildebeest coming down to drink now. Let's see if they stop again and listen and look and listen before they come down to the water. And have a look at these that's coming here now. The horns don't poke past the ears, and I can just look at all these wide bellies. So this looks like a herd of females that's coming down that haven't had their calves yet. I heard earlier that there was some wildebeest youngsters that was seen on some of the other reserves. We have not seen a wildebeest giving birth or seen a baby just yet for this season. So anxiously waiting to see if we can see some babies. So in between this herd that's coming down to drink now, you'll see there's one or two with horns that are relatively straight, or way more straight than the others that have started to curve, especially these. There's two of them here on the right. Also got a little bit more straight horns, and those are about a year old, about exactly a year old. They're coming down to drink water here close to the ducks. Had a bit of a fright of the whistling ducks there. Look at the wildebeests going down on their on their knees to try and reach the water that's a little bit deep, trying to not slip into the watering hole there. How interesting is that? Sitting down on their knees, almost like how warthogs feed. All drinking a little bit up there, but I think it's quite difficult for them to drink going down on their knees like that. Some of them coming down to the watering hole right next to us. But for now, I think we're gonna head over to DJ where she's got some impalas.
Can I back up a bit? You got them. So, this is Owen's curse, the Steenbok. Maybe Darby's a little bit luckier. We've got a pair of Steenbok here. The female on the left, the male on the right, but it looks like the male only actually has one horn. Oh, just beautiful in the nice sunlight there. She's sneaking away. And there she's gone. Most of the time it's done at speed, that they disappear like that. I don't know if you noticed, it was too quick and we didn't get a chance to point out, but with a smaller antelope, with Steenbok and with Duiker, generally the female is actually larger than the male. It's fractionally larger, but there was a nice opportunity because they were both together there to see. I'm just going to go forward. We might be able to get another view of them, but they, yeah, a little bit larger than the males, and that's from the parental care. They're nice out in the open. Perfect. Owen is going to be green with envy, Darby, because every Steenbok we've tried, before we can even frame up on it, it's raced off into the distance. So the nice part about this is that they're just far enough away that they relax with our presence. So they're going to give us really nice views. So there you can see the female on the right now, slightly larger than the male. No, don't run away. That's exactly what you see most of the time, is that running away, and then you just see that white underside as it dashes off into the bushes. So that would have been a monogamous pair, and they like living in these open areas as long as there's some thickets for them to be able to go in and hide. We'll keep moving on. They're definitely not going to come back into shot now. They're exited stage left. Beautiful little antelope. I'm not actually sure. They can't weigh too much. Let's see what the book says they weigh. But the Steenbok's got a very interesting behavior that when it wants to go to the toilet, it scratches with its two front feet like a cat, digs a little hole, then goes forward, squats down, drops these tiny, tiny little pellets, and then kicks back the sand up and over them, so they actually cover their dung. There's lots of theories as to why they do it. One is the thought that they don't have a very large territory and it actually masks their smell, and I sometimes say it's because they can. So I'll show you here. We can go in. The males are the ones with the horns. That particular one only had one horn. Beautiful, beautiful large ears. And then the female with no horns but slightly larger. So a total body weight of anywhere between 9 to 13 kilograms. They also have a very interesting, I don't know if you can see down on this lower picture, I'm going to try and hold it as still as possible, but there is like a black dot just in front of the eye. Very often, well, that is a pre-orbital gland. When Steenbok are marking territory, the female will often mark, and then sometimes the male will come and mark on top of that. So sometimes they rub that on a stick so that they leave their scent behind. Beautiful, beautiful little antelope. I always think that the ears are like leaves. Just beautiful.
We are still at this watering area with some warthogs, and the wildebeest seem like they are slowly coming back. But for now, we are just going to sit here, listen to the wind, and watch these animals enjoy the water. You can see these wildebeest are aiming to come back to the water. The wind is starting to swirl around a little bit, and I think they can maybe smell the lions in the distance. But we're going to keep an eye on what's happening here.
Well, you might be wondering why we're just sitting dead still on the road, patiently waiting. It's because I just had two banded mongoose run in front of the road, and I was just wondering if maybe there was more. We don't see banded mongoose very often here at all, so I was hoping more of them were going to come out onto the road. I'm just trying to see if I can get a view of any of them. As typical with the banded mongoose in this area, they saw us and got the biggest of big frights and went scuttling all over the place. But sometimes if you turn off, the curiosity gets the best of them and they come back to check you out. But this time does not look like it's going to be one of those times. No, they've all disappeared, unfortunately. Oh well, we at least tried. Sometimes how it goes. But we've had no luck with our leopards, I'm afraid. There's no sign of Kuchava's little one. I mean, it is really thick in there and it's hot, so if he's under a bush, unless it's right next to the road, the chances of seeing him is almost zero, because there was no footy prints to follow. So we've had no luck there. I haven't checked inside Torchwood, but the tracks that come into Little Gari, I suspect are Tundi's, because they come from Torchwood side out. So I expect those are hers. I don't really... I mean, the cub probably is still there, but where he's been hiding of late the last few days is in this horrible steep drainage line where the visual is very, very poor on him when he is found. And for us, we just can't get signal there. So it's really not an exercise to be able to do frequently, to go look for him. So I think now we just bumble slowly to the west to see what we get. I'm pretty relaxed this morning. I've had a nice morning though. I've seen nice birds this morning, taken it easy, slow little bumbles. It's been very pleasant. I've had a good time. So hopefully something will come out at some point, but if it doesn't, it's also okay. Time is coming short now though before I leave, so it would be nice to catch up with Tanya and the little one more time, and maybe one of our other, or Tlalamba as well too. I've spent so little time with her this stint. I would love to catch up with her and spend a nice long drive with the princess. Hopefully this afternoon we'll have more luck than we've had this morning. Alright, I'm going to check Twin Dam's Treehouse Dam, see if anything's coming to the water now that it's warm. In the meantime, I'll send you across to Deirdre.
we've just found these two little ant-eating chat chicks. They're waiting for the parents to come back. The ant-eating chats make their nest in a hole, an aardvark hole or a spring hare hole. So they're actually underground nesters. So the parents flew off just as we got here, but the two little chicks, you can see that gape on the mouth is still very, very large, and that shows you that it's still a youngster, probably immature. They should be able to fly by now, but still reliant on the parents for bringing them food. And that gape, that area there's Mum. Mum's just come in on the right-hand side. She's on the tree. And they are beautiful little white wings when they fly off. So the female, different from the male, is that the female doesn't have a little white shoulder patch. So she's gone out looking to try and catch some insects and then bring them to the chicks. They'll start moving further and further away from this burrow shortly, but at the moment still using Mum as their prime food source. So what I was talking about with the chicks, you can notice he's actually still got quite a short tail. He isn't quite fully there yet. He tried to do, so there are chats, which often means that they flick their tail up and down and flick their wings, just like that one did. That gape, I still keep trying to talk about the gape. When a chick is hatched out of the egg, in the very beginning, those areas on the side of the mouth are almost swollen. Some birds or chicks even have like yellow dots there, and when they're begging for food, they open their mouth, and that's almost like how do we say, like an aiming point. So the female knows, well, I'm deposit between those two spots there. They sometimes call them palatial spots on the sides of the beak as a youngster, that over time those will just go away and they won't be evident anymore. So, ant-eating chats. If we, in the winter days here at Tswalu, if we're wanting to find aardvark or pangolin, we generally look for these birds because the ant-eating chats are known to follow pangolin and aardvark as they're foraging, because quite handy that the pangolin and the aardvark have those really big claws and they dig up ants and termites, and the ant-eating chat then gets to get a meal after that. So very often, more often than not, they actually nest in the top of an aardvark burrow. Sometimes it's a bonus if that aardvark burrow is active, because then as soon as the occupant goes out foraging, the ant-eating chats know that they can follow somebody. So it's a commensalistic relationship. The ant-eating chat benefits, but there's no harm done to the aardvark or the pangolin. So we only saw 2 chicks. Then the parents, there's a parent on the tree at the top. I don't know if that's still the female. Maybe she's got something. Yeah, that's the female on the top there. I haven't seen the male, but beautiful, beautiful white windows on the wings when they fly. So being a ground nesting bird, they've got to be very alert. I mean, they're in a nice open area, so they can see if there's any predators approaching, but in an underground nest like this, they would be vulnerable for the chicks or the eggs to be taken by Cape cobras, puff adders, and even monitor lizards. So they're always on alert. I was actually looking at how long they have. So normally the eggs is sort of 2 to 7 eggs. Start with the 4th laid egg, and then it's over a 14-day time period. So only 2 weeks, which isn't very much. And sometimes they'll also have helpers. So juveniles from previous clutches that are not necessarily adults yet will help raise the chicks. They learn the parenting skills, similar to what we were talking about with Jackal the other day, is that they're not quite mature yet, but helping raise their younger brothers and sisters helps them to learn how to feed. Darby's got a white-browed sparrow weaver practically in his ear, just above his head, shouting at him. I don't know if you can hear him, but they are generally quite chirpy birds. We were having a look at their nests earlier, but yeah, you Can't turn around there. I can't see the bird, but I can hear him. He's right behind us. So that chick there is just enjoying a little bit of the sunshine. So birds will do dust bathing. I don't see that as being a practice here with this young chick, but just the behavior when you see that with an adult bird, they're flicking up the sand and the dust all over them. That helps them to suffocate the mites on their feathers. So that's one behavior that you'll see with birds if they're lying in the sand. And other times they're actually doing what's called anting, which is unusual behavior where they either do what's called passive or active anting. They'll lie down in an ant nest and they'll pick up ants and rub them on the feathers to get that formic acid from the ants, and that also believed to be like a mite repellent. And sometimes the passive anting is they just lie in the ant nest and allow the ants to crawl all over them and then suddenly shake, which gives the ants a fright, and they exude that formic acid and then climb off. There's a little white-browed sparrow weaver. Davi's just landed on the bush so we can have a good look at him. That was the one that we were showing you the nest earlier with the emergency exit, and he's gone. There's the parents are still at the back trying to scratch and find insects. They're absolutely beautiful birds. So I've been very, very grateful to these birds helping us find aardvark and pangolin in the winter season. So while that little birdie is relaxing there in his nice sunny spot, we're going to send you to Deerwald.
So while all the wildebeest and all the animals were starting to move around a lot around the watering hole, lioness and these two cubs actually came out and are lying on a little spot here in the shade where they have a bit of a raised section and they've got a beautiful view of the watering hole that's there in the back. See, she's falling asleep with her eyes just closing a little bit. But definitely, let's see how she just opens her eyes every now and then, keeping an eye on all the animals that is around the watering hole there. So the other lions that we had earlier that was moving away from the rhinos, we think that they are lying here somewhere in the shade close by. And then these ones were in a thicket a little bit earlier, and we're so happy that they came out for us to have a look at them. This youngster just behind Mom, also very inquisitive of all the movement of the animals at the watering hole there. The female's tail just flicking around every now and then. See her just chasing some biting insects also off of her back. Or some flies. See our ears are just listening and pointing straight towards that watering hole there. She's definitely very interested in all the movement. Just can't help herself to look at them and look at the movement that's around the watering hole there. Starting to get really, really hot now. I think that's also one of the reasons why they've moved to this little spot there. You can see the grass moving behind her. There's a bit of a breeze picking up that's nice and cool at the top on that little rise that they've got. But that nice shade in the tree there is what they are after. She's just like picking her head up and looking over the big open plain that's here at the bottom as well. I think she can spot some warthogs that's coming in the distance slowly on their way towards the watering hole. Interesting that these lions have been here for the last 2 days, just hanging around this watering hole. This time of the year, all the animals are coming to this watering hole, and there's not many other watering holes they can go to. And obviously where there's the food for the lions, they will hang around as long as they possibly can, especially this female, because she's got these 2 hungry mouths to feed. But for now, we're gonna keep an eye on these lions and see what they get up to. Maybe she'll show a little bit more interest in these animals. But for now, we're gonna send you over to Tristan, where he's got some kind of antelope at a watering hole.
Talking about waterholes and waiting for animals to come through, we came down to Treehouse Dam and animals have come through. So there's a nice little group of kudu. It's the same group of kudu I actually had yesterday afternoon, the beginning of my drive. They've moved quite a bit from where we saw them, and now they're all lining up to have a bit of a drink. It's going to be really nice if they all put their heads down, but they're wary, as most antelope will be, around water. They know that a waterhole of this size can easily hold a crocodile. Not that there is one that we know of, at least, that is in here. And so they don't have to stress too much. But you'll find that still doesn't mean that they're not nervous. They'll always be very twitchy around water, and that goes for kudu, impalas, nyala, whatever it is. It doesn't matter. They're at their most vulnerable state when they are down like this, because their head is down, they're not able to see nicely, and they can often be kind of approached from behind without picking up what's going on. So that's why you'll find that they drink a little bit, stand up, turn and look, drink a little bit, stand up, turn and look, and they just constantly one individual that's on the lookout. What you'll also notice is that in the background from these guys is that there's an impala, or 2 impalas, and they were thinking about coming and drinking, but the sun is out at the moment and it is warm in the sun. So you can see how they're waiting their turn for the kudu to finish, but they're doing so in the shade of a marula tree. So they're clever. They know that being out in the sun is not an ideal place to be at the moment, and so they rather kind of go and shift off into the shade, wait for the kudu, and then they'll come down and drink themselves. Pretty though, isn't it? Nice with the cumulus clouds, bit of blue sky, greenery from the summer and the rains, and then these animals drinking at the waterhole itself. It's a nice scene. You can also see every now and then you'll probably see a few barn swallows bombing through the frame as well. Nice to see them back as well. Silly girl, I suppose it depends where the kudu lives, really. Kudus that live here have a lot harder time than kudu that maybe live on these game farms that don't have predators. These guys unfortunately get hunted quite a bit in this area. But you're probably looking at, for a place, or for where we are now, average lifespan would be probably 10, 12 years here. That's about what you'd get. As soon as any animal in an environment like this one starts to get old, they generally start to get weaker, and that then makes them basically targets for all kinds of prey animals. You find that they get hammered by predators left, right and center. So dogs and hyenas and lions and leopards and whatever it is, depending on what kind of animal you are and what size you are, will dictate what actually preys on you. But when you get older, you get slower and weaker, and therefore often targeted. It seems like they're done with their drink and they're going to now head into some shade. I imagine most animals are going to be heading into shade. They're not going to want to be in the sun today. It's uncomfortable when the sun is out. And so you'll find that particularly something like a kudu, it thrives in wooded areas. And so you'll find that they're going to go in and just take it easy and enjoy some nice cool shade and a breeze that blows, and when you're in the shade it's very pleasant, that's for sure. Marianne, it is a beautiful scene and always nice just to stop at waterholes like this. You know, it's a pretty, particularly the view from Treehouse Dam, it's a pretty view that goes kind of westwards. You get some of the most unbelievable sunsets from this dam wall, especially the reflections of the water. If it's a really still evening and you get beautiful clouds, you get the most amazing reflections. So it can be really, really pretty, that's for sure. I love spending time here. It's just sad to me that we haven't been seeing a lot at Treehouse Dam. When I first arrived in 2017, this dam used to be full of sightings. We used to see lions here regularly, we used to see leopards regularly, elephants a lot swimming. But over the course of the last year, it's been really quiet at this particular pan. It's not been as good as it used to be in terms of its performance, that's for sure. So, but hopefully it'll return to its former glory and we'll start to see animals coming down. Maybe the water quality just wasn't good at one point. I see there's one kudu that's coming back now. Maybe that one didn't get a drink or a nice enough drink, so it's going to go and try and get another little mouthful before they leave. But you see how those ears kind of twitch back and forth all around, just trying to figure out what's going on around it before it drops its head down to the water. There's also no sign of our hippo today. He doesn't seem to be here playing with his stick, so I wonder if he's not at Kalahari Dam at the moment. Maybe he's up that side. Those of you on the dam cam will know whether he's gone up to Kalahari Dam or... I suppose from here, I'm just trying to think where else he would go. Twin Dams sometimes, but he's not at Twin Dams. I checked there this morning already. Maybe Buffelshoek Dam. There isn't really much else in the way of water from where we are right now. The next nearest would be Treehouse Dam, but not the Treehouse Dam that we know. The Treehouse, because we are at Treehouse Dam. There's another Treehouse Dam inside Little Kalahari that could potentially house a hippo, so maybe that's where he goes to when he's not here, or at Kalahari Dam. Percy, my favorite antelope. Tough one. It depends, I suppose, where we are. I think probably, if I had to say for sure, sable probably would be my favorite. There's something about male sables, those big recurved horns, that jet black body with that white stomach. I really, really like sable. So yeah, the jet black kind of body and sheen of them, that would be for me. If I was in the rainforest, I mean, I really do like those bongo. I would love to see an okapi. That would be really cool to see. Mountain nyala, they're pretty as well. So yeah, I think it depends. But if in terms of here, where we are in South Africa, I mean, we don't see sable all that regularly. In fact, I don't think we've ever had one live, but they do get seen in our newer traverse. So on Torchwood and Buffelshoek, they have been seen. So maybe we'll get lucky. They generally come in the winter. They don't come in the summer months as it dries out in the Kruger. So you start to see there's a herd of sable that comes in at Mala Mala. And then we get a bull sable that sometimes comes into this area. And so maybe we'll be able to put one on screen at some point. But they really are magnificent creatures. Like I say, a bull sable has got so much majesty about it. It really is beautiful. All right, well, we're going to carry on. We'll try and figure out what else we can find. Hopefully there'll be some more surprises along the way.
How insane is that animal?
This is out of this world. Fantastic. Good, Mama.
Wow, what a way to start off.
It's just such an incredible privilege to be out here. It just keeps on delivering.
There you go, there you go. Heart is pumping right now.
3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
Look at this, everybody. We've got a live kill.
The croc's holding the tail. It's holding tight. Lucky wildebeest.
There's nowhere to go. This is a disaster in the making.
Something that I have never seen before in my entire life that you are now watching live.
My heart is in my mouth, everybody.
Look at this. It's gonna make it. It's going, it's going.
This is just too magical. Hi, little guys. That's great, isn't it? Look at that. Scuba Steve has got a friend.
You've got a friend in me. It couldn't be a better morning. This is just too special.
Oh my goodness, we've got a turtle.
How epic is the fact that we come into you live from the Chobe River? It's the most incredible feeling to be here. This is live and we're in Rwanda. This is a very, very different adventure, charged with emotion.
I did not think I would ever face my fears like this.
We have just moved back a little bit, and the two youngsters have also moved off to the left of the female there, and they're just lying in the shade. They're still very inquisitive of all the movement around the watering hole there, but this female is now lying completely flat. I think she's realized it's getting too hot and it's not going to be worth her trying to hunt, get the animals that are around the watering hole there. Just a couple of warthogs left around the watering hole, and we were just saying how incredible it is how the temperature and the wind has such a massive effect on how many animals comes to drink there. She's just got her head up. There's a bit of a breeze coming over, maybe just picking her head up to smell the sense that the breeze is carrying. She's looking over her shoulder there into the thickets here on the left hand side. Oh, she's definitely smelled something. Robert, you're asking if lions only hunt at night. They do most of the hunting at night, but they are very, very opportunistic, so they'll hunt during the day if the opportunity arises. And this female having these two youngsters will definitely be aware of anything that comes close to her. There, she's got a bit of a yawn there. Let's see if she stretches and maybe gets up. There we go. So after a yawn like that, she's just oxygenating her brain and her muscles just before getting up. She was looking off to the left a little bit. Let's see, Robert, maybe we're in luck and she might take the opportunity and try and hunt. There's another yawn. That was like a half-hearted yawn. So she's starting to pant. It's very, very hot at the moment. In the shade, it's about 37 degrees. My watch is showing way hotter than that because we were just sitting in the sun for a moment. There, she's yawning quite a bit. I think she's getting ready to get a move on. Maybe deciding to move to a different spot of shade or so. She's very inquisitive of the animals that are around the watering hole there. Looking in this direction, there we go, she's on the move. Just like we predicted. Yawning quite a lot. I think she's going to go down to the shade there at the bottom. I see you're asking how old this lioness is. It's quite difficult to say exactly, but I would guess she's probably somewhere around 5 or 6 years old. Now that she's just moved down into the shade there, I think let's see if we can creep a little bit closer. The youngsters are still lying at the top there. We want to just see where she's gone from there, because there's quite a few thickets on the left-hand side here. And it might be that she maybe spotted something that she's interested or so. So I'm going to see if we can creep a little bit forward and see if we can get another view of her next to the road there. Wait, let's switch off for a moment. Look at the youngster coming down where his mother went, sitting and watching her. For a moment I thought I just heard a bit of a vocalization sound. There, the other youngsters just off to the left behind the tree branches there. Really looking at Mom, not wanting her to move away, far away from them. And there the youngsters settling down. Well, I guess while we have a view of these youngsters, we'll just stay right here for now. If they start moving down, then we'll maybe go closer and see if we can get a view of the female. But the fact that they're lying down there, maybe the lioness is just down in the shade below them. The one going and sitting basically on top of his brother's head. Here they go. Going down to Mom. See the one like trotting down? Oh, there, Mom's coming up from the left hand side. So it was her vocalizing, maybe calling them a bit. There she stands and looking this way, looking over the little bit of the rise towards the watering hole there. Another yawn there. She's yawning quite a lot, trying to wake up from her previous nap. I wonder if the shade down at the bottom there is not dense enough for her, or thick enough for her. So yeah, she's just putting her feet onto the rise, the front feet, getting her head above the vegetation, see if she can have a look at the animals there in the back. At the watering hole, but she's going back. Oh, look at that. A little bit playful. Very interested in all the animals around the water there. I think there's still a lot of warthogs around the water. So as long as we've got visual of her from here, I don't think we're going to move the vehicle. Just don't want the animals at the watering hole to look in this direction unnecessarily and see these lines. because these lions, I think, have positioned themselves in this particular area for a very specific reason, to hopefully be in the way of maybe some animals that are keen to come to the water, and then they don't have to walk and stalk. They can just lie and wait for something to come close by. And like Robert question said earlier, that they might hunt if they get the opportunity. Just see a tail flick the insects away every now and then. Oh, there she goes back. And let's see if she goes down the other side there. No, she's just going to settle down there, luckily for us, because there's quite thick, dense vegetation down in the dip on the other side. But I think she's a little bit more comfortable there where she was lying down now. Oh, it'll be interesting to see what they do. Here comes the other sibling, other youngster from the bottom, coming up the little hill. Let's see if there's some interaction there between him and his sibling. No, not interested at all. The youngster just yawned there as well. Looking over to Mom. Yep, both of them going to Mom. Bubbles, you're asking if these cubs will help with the hunt? No, not at all. These youngsters, looking at the size of them and thinking of when we saw them for the first time, they are probably only around 9 months, 10 months old, so they are still very, very young, and won't be showing any interest in hunting just yet. Actually, I think a little bit younger, maybe 7 months old, around there. So these youngsters will only start to show interest when they're much, much bigger, and they have built the necessary muscle fibers, and their bodies are big enough, and they also have the right mindset, because at this point I think they care more about playing and having some of Mom's milk and eating, and that's it. They don't hunt just yet. So Mom has her work cut out for her to try and keep these two bellies full. But luckily the lioness with the 3 sub-adults is also just in the thickets off to our right hand side. We can't see them from where we are now, but we know they are there from earlier. And there's luckily more than one lioness in this pride that can hunt and help take down some animals. All working together to lessen the load of the work to hunt. Feel the breeze coming over us now. A very welcoming, cool breeze blowing. See how that lioness keeps on looking over to the left and to our left hand side, her right hand side. One of the youngsters coming over to her now. Oh, look at that interaction there. Yeah, youngster rubbing his head into Mom, lying right underneath her chin. How cute. And she has not taken her eyes off of those warthogs around that watering hole for the last few seconds. See how she's staring there in the distance. Oh, looking this way now. From where we are, we have a few thickets or so just between us and the watering hole, so it's a little bit difficult for us to see what's going on there. But I can't see anything big, so I'm assuming it's just warthogs that's catching her attention. But if she starts to show interest in them, then we'll reposition and obviously try and show it all to you. Look how she's grooming her cub there, nibbling behind his ear. And grooming the back of his head. He's had enough of it. Stop it, Mom. This lioness is so beautiful. It almost looks like she's got a bit of a scar through her right hand ear, eye, on our left hand side. A little bit of a black marking there. Look at that, the muscles in her shoulders when she turns her body like that. My goodness. Even though she's not moving around, it's incredible to see lions active like this. There she's up. Okay, I think let's go closer and see what they're getting up to. There, I can just see the last cub also getting up and moving over to the right. We'll see if we can maybe spot some other animals, see what they're looking at. This is going to take it nice and slow. We obviously don't want to affect a hunt or anything like that. Okay, I can see us standing up on the road up ahead. I think let's stop right here. She's just stopped and she's actually staring down the road. I wonder if there's some nice thick shaded areas there. Okay, she is heading in that direction now. They've got a nice big vantage point from up there where they are. Let's just see, there's one more youngster that's just here off to the left hand side. He's still lying in the shade. I don't know if you heard, there was a low contact call there. She was just calling this cub here. And there he goes. It was a very, very low call. Must have been difficult for you to hear it, but it's just a very low So when lionesses have their youngsters with them, and they only roar when they want to keep other lions out of their territory, but often the contact calls will be nice and soft as to not attract other attention and also let other prey animals know that they are around. As soon as this youngster goes up to the road, then we'll drive up onto this little hill in front of us. Okay, let's see if we can go a little bit forward. I'm just going to go into four-wheel drive, and that's going to give me a little bit more control of the vehicle and slow us down as slow as possible so we don't affect these lions' behavior with our vehicle. I'm going to just creep up onto the hill here. Hopefully they're still on the road and in the shade. Oh, look at that. Perfect. I wonder where the other cub went. Look at this youngster looking straight at us, his eyes squinting. It's very, very bright out here. See, the youngster's mouth is open, panting away in this hot, hot weather. See how the female is just picking her head up and turning her head towards where the wind is coming from. Oh, there comes the youngster from the thickets in the back. Let's see if there's some interaction here. Hello, Mom. Oh, no. Just wants to lie down. My goodness, what a hard life. The wind is blowing from behind us straight onto the lines here. So this youngster is just looking over towards the right, so the watering hole's all the way to the right there. Mom also lying down flat. So she just picks her head up every now and then, turning it to the side. So because the wind is coming from our side, and she's just trying to sniff and smell what scent the wind is carrying. See how she's very interested at what the wind's bringing, actually. Ears looking, listening in this direction. So So I've seen lions before just smelling something and then trying to walk into that direction and try and stalk. Vera, you were saying what a cute interaction earlier. They are so cute, especially when you see the care that the mother has with them and how much she cares for them. Look how this female is now staring over to the watering hole on the right hand side there. Ears pointing straight towards the watering hole. Very interested at what's going on around them. Still see quite a lot of warthogs around the water there. See the wind blowing over our shoulders. See if she picks her nose up into the wind again. Her eyes are actually squinting and closing a little bit. I think she's in two minds of hunting and keeping an eye on the animals, but also trying to arrest as much as he can. It doesn't look like they've eaten something last night, so I think they were spending the whole night here hoping to hunt something, but was unsuccessful, and that's why she's maybe quite active like this for a lion during the middle of the day. Really also listening in that towards the right hand side. There's actually a few flies on her side there. Just saw her moving her skin, trying to chase them off. I see you are saying she's such a beautiful lioness. She is indeed. She doesn't have many blemishes or scars on her face apart from that one on the eye, but that gives him such beautiful characteristics and character. See how she's lying with her one paw now facing upwards. So that just shows us that she is really settling down and enjoying that little spot that she's in, relaxing down and turning the paws upside down, taking the pressure off of them. See how she's picking her nose up into the wind as it's blowing, still smelling whatever the wind is carrying. She's just staring down the road as well. So lying in the shade like this, not only, I think it's mostly for cooling down, but not only cools them down, but also acts as a bit of camouflage for the animals that do come past. Because if the sun shines on these lines, they can be quite light in color and almost reflect the sun, and then animals will be able to spot them a little bit easier. These youngsters are out for the count, it seems. Really settling down now. And as it gets hotter and hotter, I think this is probably what's going to be happening for the rest of the day. But if something gets close enough, this female will change her behavior very quickly. You can see her eyes just closing now. Also starting to fall asleep. But this female is still moving her head around, so she's falling asleep, but not completely. Which tells me that she's maybe a little bit more desperate to hunt than usual. No, there she's flopped down. I think that is that. She's found the spot where she's keen to settle down. See the tail just getting poised and ready to flick the flies off of her back. A lot of biting flies at the moment, especially with it being so hot and very dry. Any moisture that's around the lines on their bodies, they'll try and get. So you're flicking their ears as well, trying to get the flies off. The youngster pushing his paw up against Mom's back there. But for now, I think we are going to see if we can leave these lines in this little spot here while they are sleeping. Maybe we'll see if there's some animals around the watering hole there, or maybe some other animals around.
We are incredibly lucky. These two ground agamas ran across the road, and they're so busy with each other that I think we're having a little bit of a domestic here between these two. So they've actually stayed still. We struggle so many times to try and get these on live TV for you. So a pair of ground agamas. One's the male, one's the female. And admittedly, I actually don't know much about them, other than that coloration is generally a breeding color, if they have that blue, and if the blue on the head, and if the male wants to attract the female, he tends to bob up and down, sort of in a waving fashion. These ones do also climb onto trees. We saw one earlier on the top of a bush just enjoying himself in the sun. And then as soon as you drive past, he scuttles back down to the ground. So it's just, to actually get a still, stationary lizard for any frame of time is amazing. But beautiful, sort of very triangular head. That's what distinguishes the agamas from other lizards. That's just amazing. So there seems to be definitely, I don't know if it's a sort of a mating behavior or it's an aggression behavior. So the female, if they have mated, she will bury her eggs below the soil.
There is some francolins that are just calling off to the left-hand side, and it's caught the attention of this youngster. See the black behind his ears showing us where he's listening to. Crested francolins, just repositioning a little bit that side of his body, getting a bit numb. Those francolins are just calling it the territorial call that they're giving there. It's not to these lines. Oh, look at that, the youngster giving us a beautiful view of his face. And see how the youngster's also lying with his paws upside down. And that just shows us that he is also super relaxed and is trying to fall asleep, almost like taking the pressure off of his paws there. This little shaded spot's going to disappear as the sun comes over us, and then these lions will have to look for a different spot to lie down. But just down the hill on the left hand side here, there is quite big shaded trees and nice long grass for them to go and lie and rest in. We did go back a little bit just to check what was at the watering hole there, and it was just a couple of warthogs. No other big animals coming down to the water just yet. Oh, this wind is so nice and cool, wow. I'm sure these lions are also enjoying the wind coming over them now. You can also see this youngster, how he's bobbing his head up and down. These francolins keeping him awake. He's falling asleep. Oh, looking over his shoulder. Something's caught his eye. I think he's probably making the calculations in his head. Is it worth getting up and going and looking for these damn birds that are calling and keeping him awake and try and go and catch him, or is he going to fall asleep? But I think we're going to keep an eye on these lions for now, and we're going to send you over to Tristan, where he's got a wildebeest.
Well, as you can see, we've made our way towards quarantine and finally found ourselves an animal. It's been dire out here this morning. There's not been that much going on. It's been very quiet on the radio even. So yeah, it's been a tough morning, but a good morning in many respects. It's been pretty, at least, which is always nice. And I always like kind of just sitting with the wildebeest and impalas and seeing what they do on the open clearing. You can see most of them are in the shade. They've already decided it's way too hot for them today to be out feeding. And so most of them are just kind of finding individual pockets of shade where they can get in under and spend most of the hot part of the day, and then later this afternoon start to feed out again. I was just checking the wildebeest as well, just in case any of the females have had a new little one, or if they're showing any signs of potentially giving birth, but I can't see any sign of that. There's still one that's quite heavily pregnant. That's standing. I mean, the rest are sitting, so I can't really see how many more there are. So there should be 3 new ones, so we should have 8 babies total by the time, 7 babies total by the time this all finishes, and we actually get these guys kind of all done. But you can see there's still some round tummies that are there, so hopefully there'll be a couple more little ones, and they've done well so far. I mean, they've avoided lions, Tingana. It's been tough for them. They've had lots to deal with. Luckily, the dogs haven't spent too much time here with these little ones, because otherwise they would have been in trouble. It would have been very, very difficult for them to be able to, survive the dogs, particularly a little young wildebeest with a big pack of dogs is tricky to survive, and the wildebeest often get them, which isn't ideal at all. So hopefully we'll kind of not see the dogs come to quarantine until they've developed a little bit and gotten a little stronger. Anyway, it's that time of the day where we're going to be saying goodbye to all of you. Hopefully you've had a nice morning through the South African wilderness. Seems like there's been a lot of little things today, but some really cool stuff as well for those that like the bigger things too, which is really good. So from all of us, it's been an absolute pleasure. We'll see you all this afternoon on our sunset safari.